Episode 55 of the Auld Triangle is here in your ears, on your eyeballs. You'll notice we just got two of us today. I want to give a shout out to Caoilte, who couldn't join us today, unfortunately, for the podcast or for the interviews as well. He's going through some personal things right now and is unable to join us. So we're thinking of him. We're going to miss him for this podcast. He'll be back for episode 56, I'm sure. So shout out to Caoilte from the get-go if you're wondering. Yeah, 100%. We're thinking of him right now, going through a difficult time, and you know, that's things that we all have to deal with sometimes. So we want to give him a shout out from the get-go. If anyone is wondering why there is only two of us here today, obviously, if you're listening, you're not going to hear Caoilte today. You're going to have to dust off your Irish, I think, Andy, maybe for the end.
Oh, cut us a fucking talk to, lads. What do we say? The Auld line?
The Auld duo, I'd say today, is it? Yeah,
duo.
Yeah, but lots to talk about. Yeah, lots to talk about. I'll give a breakdown. We're obviously going to talk Cage Warriors 170. Going to speak with Decky McAleenan. Going to speak with Flobater's Jordan Scully after picking up gold medals at the European Championships. We're covering you from all angles. Look ahead to a couple of the action, and a look back to some of the action that we've seen in Irish mixed martial arts. And how are you first, Andy, before we get into the nitty gritty of it? Are you keeping well? A great couple of weeks there now in the build up to Cage Warriors and the event itself and the aftermath as well. You were right in the mix doing a fantastic job, and it was a great event overall, and I hope you're keeping well in general, lad.
Thanks very much. You know, it was I'm doing great. Fucking watched a load of fights there this morning, watched UFC 300. Near jumped off my couch, running around the place just saying, oh my god, for about 10 minutes straight after watching Max Holloway.
It's like sometimes you come on here, you might have a bit of a hangover after watching UFC. Like, I'm literally like still buzzing after, like, I mean, you know, you go through the juggernaut of MMA events and stuff like that, and you get nights like last night that remind you why you love mixed martial arts so much, and moments that were created on that card as well, and it was just brilliant.
There's nothing like when you get the MMA at its best is unrivaled. Like, it's just nothing. I feel I can't speak. I literally couldn't speak. Other than saying, oh my god, I kept on. Michaela's looking at me like, what is this weirdo like doing? I'm like, I don't know. Like, did you see that? Like, did you just see?
Do you know, your man? You know, after that Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway fight, it was like, you know, that meme of your man from Narcos. Where he's like sitting on the screen, just staring out into space. Like, that's what I felt after watching that fight. I was saying to you even before we started recording, it was almost like an outer body experience. But I digress. We could talk about UFC 300 all day, but what we have to talk about is Irish mixed martial arts, of course, on the Auld Triangle here. And look, we're talking about great moments in time, Andy, and we saw plenty of great moments in time at Cage Warriors 170 in Dublin in the RDS. You were live in attendance. A brilliant night for Team Rhino and James Sheehan in particular. A great night, obviously, for Paul Hughes, who went out there and got the job done. We're going to be talking about what's next for him. Lots of action inside and outside the cage on the night as well. We'll get into a little bit of that as we progress on the podcast today. You were there live in attendance at the RDS, Andy. What was the vibe in there, and compared to the last time? I know it was a little bit kind of more better set up for a media perspective, at least at this time around. It was, you know, so and you know, produce some great interviews. You can catch all the interviews from all the winners at SevereMMA.com. Andy did them all after the fights, but live there, what was the vibe in the arena? I was watching on Fight Pass myself. You were live there in attendance. What was the thoughts, Andy?
Yeah, I thought it was a lot better than the previous outing in the RDS. Last time they were in kind of the main section, whereas now they're in Hall 8, which I don't know. I remember it from going to, I think, the Young Scientist, and I went to see went to Funderland to the arcades and stuff there as well. But I thought it was brilliant. From a media perspective, the last time we had a big issue with running backstage to the fights and then trying to get through a corridor and it was just messy. Whereas this time it was literally, you take a step out from where the media place is and you're right there at the cage essentially. So it was very, very easy to be able to watch fights, and then also, you know, because 14 Irish fighters, you're back to back to back, just from that perspective. I thought it was a lot better experience as well for the fans. The one thing that I thought I had heard in the lead up was around bleachers or tiered seating. I think that could go a long way.
There wasn't any there, was there?
No, it was all, not that I saw anyway. It was all ground level seating.
Yeah,
so
all the flat seating. Yeah,
I'm standing up. I have a decent view, but if you're sitting down, and there was a lot of stewards going around telling people to sit down, and because people get a bit boisterous when they're watching their teammates and their friends. And few cans on board as well with that. But I thought it was a great crowd. It looked like a bigger crowd than the last time out. I liked where they had the walkway. I thought that looked pretty cool, and the kind of photos of the previous Irish competitors in the organization, etc. Really, really good atmosphere. I would say that it felt like a really, really special night, and I think a lot of that comes down to James Sheehan's moment, and then the changing of era. I don't know if eras is the right word for Paul Hughes, where he's going. This is a career crossroads. And then Decky McAleenan, who we'll speak to later on, he got a huge pop. I thought he got one of the biggest kind of receptions of the night. So some big moments early on in the card. I would say it was more, lads who were kind of starting out in their pro careers. You potentially could have seen some of these matchups on a regional show in Ireland, but at the same time, you also have some kind of hot prospects breaking through, like Solomon Simon, etc. We'll go into it all, but a really good night of fights. I think the arena was better than last time. Room for improvement from a fan perspective, but overall, I thought it was very good.
Absolutely. Like from watching from afar, from watching the broadcast of it as well, it felt special as well. And you have to give credit where credit is due. That Cage Warriors do have that ability to really make a night like that special as well. So kudos to them. For the matchmaking as well, it was excellent as well. But let's start off with James Sheehan. Took on Daniel Conrad, submission via arm triangle. 4 minutes and 27 seconds into round 4 of what was a war, Andy, and a real battle of attrition that we knew it was kind of going to be, and I'm sure James knew it was kind of going to be for him as well. I mean, you're not going to win an easy Cage Warriors world title, that's for sure. And I think Ian Dean did excellently in the matchmaking of this fight, because Daniel Conrad, we expected him to be dangerous early days, and he was dangerous, landing lots of shots, opened up a cut on James as well. But James persevered through, winning rounds, and ultimately just kind of drowned him towards the 4th round, and going on to get that arm triangle decision. Like, it was a real character building moment for James, one of the best moments of his career to date so far. But as he said, just more so him being able to create that team atmosphere and round off an excellent night for Team Rhino really meant a lot for him and for the whole team. And it was really great to see Andy and Neil Siri and Redzer and all the crew after him there. Not just James Sheehan won that world title, obviously. I think whole Team Rhino were fighting that fight with him as well. And you know what? I'm very happy for James that he got the job done. We've been talking about his potential and how much he deserved a moment like that. I'm glad he got it, and I'm glad he came up on top. What were your thoughts watching there live, Andy?
Yeah, it was an amazing moment, and you encapsulated it quite well there. Like, it was just a big moment for him, where he's a guy who's taken the hard road, taken the long road in Cage Warriors, fighting the likes of Ian Garry's, fighting the likes of Matthew Bonners very early in his career, and picked up a couple of losses, but he's always kind of come back. He's always persevered, and he's always looked a better version of James Sheehan anytime he did kind of falter in his career. And I think this was a similar one, a very composed, professional performance by him. We knew what Conrad's strengths were coming into this. We had seen his fights. You go and watch his fights in Cage Fight Series, and you see the knockout power he has. You see the one punch knockout power that he has, and the danger that he possessed and posed again to James. And then you have the visual coming out of round 1 where he's Jimbo sliced, but on that night he was Jimbo sliced. Now, I will say that the Team Rhino lads were kind of protesting a bit afterwards that it was kind of the head, they were leading with his head a bit, that maybe caused the damage there. But still, he's coming into round 2 and he's bloodied, but he just continued to kick on. And I think throughout, as the fight wore on, his IQ really shone through. He started to implement just a very tactical game plan, started introducing the grappling as well. And then ultimately, he just, as you said, began to drown Daniel Conrad, who, all the credit in the world to him, stuck in there for as long as he could, but he took some damage in the end. And the two lads seeing the backstage after, you have the visual of James Sheehan's face, which is, he was laughing at himself, like, you know, look at my face, like what the hell is going on here? But Daniel Conrad looked, he didn't look right either. I'll tell you that much.
No, definitely not. Like the two of them left everything in there. Like, I mean, you're talking about the cut, Andy. You can get a cut like that, however it was happening, whether it's illegally, whatever way. We'll leave that to everyone who, whatever way they want to think about it. But a cut like that can change a fight and can change your performance. I mean, when you get cut that bad in the first round, you're thinking, is the doctor going to stop this? Can take you off your performance. But James stayed cool, calm, and composed, and stayed on his game plan. Because I imagine what his game plan was, and we kind of suggested it on the Auld Triangle the last time as well, to kind of bring Daniel into deeper waters, where I feel James would have been more stronger in the later rounds than he would have been early. Like we all said, he had to weather an early storm, and that's exactly what he did. And he was still there. He was still in Daniel Conrad's face. You know, putting that pressure on, closing the distance, ultimately securing the takedown and the arm triangle. Just a phenomenal win. You got a great moment with him after the fact, where he kind of shared how much this moment meant to him and how much it meant to the gym as well. First world title for Team Rhino since Neil Seery back in 2013. It's been a long time coming. They, you know, have been getting the heads down, you know, hard-nosed working class gym is what I would describe Team Rhino as. You know, a bunch of killers coming out of there, and you know, we're seeing a lot of talent coming out here now with James Sheehan leading the charge here, and his title win is going to feed into the rest of that gym as well. You can guarantee it. So I think we're going to have a special couple of years overall for Team Rhino, but in particular for James as well. It was nice for you, I guess, to share that moment with him after the fight.
Yeah, and you could see how much it meant to him, like as you're talking there about Andy Ryan and Neil Seery and Paul Redmond and all these, you know, he said it himself, all these lads who've put so much to be able to hand them that belt. It's years and years of hard work, and Rhino aren't a gym, you know, that will puff their chests out and beat it and kind of, you know, sing their praises a whole lot, but like they deserve to. They deserve to. You know, it's a very impressive achievement, and it's been a long time since they've been able to, you know, kind of shout a success out like that. Obviously, you know, in the amateur scene we had Nadine winning gold, but this is different. You know, this is on the professional side of things, and yeah, just a brilliant moment. And you know, James's whole family were there backstage. It was great to see, you know, his brother Matthew, who had won gold at the IMMAFs, you know, some years ago in Vegas, and you know, obviously James winning now, and Graham coming through. So it's a family style gym, but it's also literally his family are the ones that are kind of taking the beatings in the lead up to this and doing the pad work with them and all this stuff. So it was a beautiful moment.
Absolutely. Moving on to the co-main event, obviously, Paul, big news. Hughes took on Fabiano Silva, his fourth opponent change in the space of 1 week, and went out there and put on a professional, dominant performance. And you know what? Like, the guy that he faced is no easy cookie to kind of digest in there. Over 50 fights, ton of wins under his belt. Fair play to him for coming over and taking on a guy like Paul Hughes. But, you know, you see the fight, you see the result, you might take it for granted. There was a showcase fight for Paul, but I think for him, character building in terms of the amount of changes that he had to kind of make, the different opponents, remaining cool, calm, and composed, and a guy that had the weight of the world on his shoulders. And it didn't look like that. And I know you saw him live and he was oozing with confidence, but you can best believe that the weight of the world was on his shoulders, especially going into free agency. I mean, he couldn't have handled pre-fight any better. He couldn't handle the fight night any better. And you know what, we're in the negotiation phases right now, and I'm sure he's going to handle it the best of his abilities, obviously with the help of his management team as well. Talking about the performance itself before we go into what's next for Paul, Andy, your thoughts on that and the feelings you got there on the night. Did it feel as special as it looked on the TV?
It 100% did. It really felt like, you know, the last one felt special, the moment, the walkout, etc. This one was no different, you know. What I would say is the first interaction that I had with Paul on the night was it was before he competed. He made his way through with Pat McAllister and Liam Shannon and John McColgan through kind of the media row towards the backstage area, because you could kind of cut through that way. And I've heard of people talking about, you know, certain fighters who have this aura to them, who have, you know, just a different energy to other fighters where they stand out. I never personally experienced that until Saturday gone by there when Paul came through. He's shaking every single person's hand there. You're kind of just like, I don't know. I kind of like felt like not a physical step back, but I kind of take a step back to like, you know, this is something new that I've not seen from a fighter before, where you just, there was no, kind of literally watching him, there was no doubt in my mind that he was going to go out there and win. He just had this confidence to him. And then when you see him put on the performance, look, this is not the biggest win of his career. It's not the toughest opponent of his career. It is, I think it's probably the most experienced of his career. But, you know, you look at the Vucenic wins, you look at the Charrier win, guys like James Hendon, perhaps even James Hendon is a bigger win. But I think, considering the number of opponent changes, he could have been going out here and fighting a lad who was 5-1 we'd never heard of, who'd really never been tested. He didn't. He ended up fighting a 55 pro who, look, wasn't on his level, but he was durable. He kind of made it a little bit of an awkward fight for as long as it lasted. And he was a potential banana skin because not that I thought Paul would lose, but if he even went to the second round, it's almost a failure when there's so much kind of riding on a big performance here as you go into, you know, you're telling the world, everyone's telling the world, this is the guy to watch. This is the guy who is the best unsigned free agent, the best prospect in the world right now. Well, you have to go out and deliver it, even if it's against, you know, a fourth opponent who has 50 fights, can't make it awkward. You still have to go out and put him away, and that he did. So I think it's as ideal a scenario as he could have hoped for and could have delivered given the circumstances.
Absolutely. And, you know, it leads to probably an even bigger story after the fight, getting that win and everything that you said there. I mean, yeah, the pressure of the opponent is one thing, but it's more so, I'm impressed, the pressure of the moment and what's at scale here, and the gamble that you do take at taking short notice opponents and wanting to get them out of there quickly to kind of increase your value in the free agency. And that's where we're looking at right now. And let's not beat around the bush here. We're talking about two different routes here. It's PFL or it's the UFC. For me personally, and this is me personally, I think it's a crying shame if Paul Hughes doesn't join up with the UFC, with the level of talent that he has, with the level of star potential that he has. I think that, you know, the UFC is tailor-made. Now, you do have the elephant in the room is that, you know, you go down the path of the UFC, you're going to have to work a little bit more harder to get more money. You're going to not get paid what you probably would be getting paid by the PFL if you were to take up on a contract on them. The routes that he could go down are endless with both PFL and with the UFC, to be honest. I know that you were on with Pizzi on the crack with on it as well, and you were kind of discussing and laying out the pathway for Paul Hughes. You know, you laid both sides of the story out very well. For you, I'm going to ask you personally first what you want to see, and then, you know, maybe we can talk about what might be best for Paul in his situation. It's very hard for us to walk a mile in his shoes, of course, but for me personally, I wanted to be the UFC. I feel when we look at fighters like Paul Hughes, I think for the overall benefit of mixed martial arts, him going into the biggest promotion, which is the UFC right now, I don't think there's any argument about that right now, that his stark rise up through the UFC, I think would hit home and benefit Irish mixed martial arts a lot more than maybe a run in the PFL. What are your thoughts?
A UFC, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I want to see Paul in the UFC. I think it would be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, what ifs in Irish MMA history if Paul doesn't go to the UFC, because there's such a belief and such potential here where we're all kind of waiting to see, you know, just how far can this guy go. We all think that he's a phenomenal fighter, but let's be honest, we haven't seen him tested against the absolute best in the world. And until we do, we will never have the answers. Even if, you know, we think we know them, we will never have that concrete evidence. So we're currently getting it with Ian Garry. We're getting to see him, you know, rise up the ranks, go in there against ranked opponents and soar. And I want to see the same for Paul Hughes. Like, I need to see him in the UFC. And I understand that PFL is growing. I understand that PFL does have some very good fighters. And in time, you know, I don't know I don't think it'll ever be the leader, but I do think potentially if they play their cards right, they could assemble a roster that could say, you know what, you know, we have a decent chunk of the best talent in the world. It's not there right now. And I think for as long as that is the case, it's UFC or bust when it comes to proving yourself as the best fighter in the world. My only, my issue obviously is you want Paul, especially hearing him talking about, you know, the impact that Ryan Curtis's injury has had and his mentality, and you want these fighters to get the best out of their career as far as money wise as well. My worry with the PFL, and I think I phrased it as when I was chatting with Pete Donna, as Paul as a gamble here, and he has to either gamble on himself or he has to gamble on the PFL. And what I mean by that is if he goes to the UFC, he's gambling on himself to deliver, to make more money over time, maybe not at the same level. Maybe he does. Maybe Tim Simpson goes in and gets him a great contract, which I'd love. But if he goes the PFL route, he needs to gamble that they are going to deliver on X number of fights a year, that they're going to be a sustainable venture, and that they can platform him and get the eyeballs on him, you know, in a at least a fraction of what the UFC can do. And I there's not enough evidence right now for me, if I was Paul Hughes, to say I want to gamble on the PFL rather than gambling on myself.
Very, very well said. And I'm kind of along the same lines here, where I'm thinking about certain pathways that Paul could go down. Look at his last two fights for me, number one, were showcase fights. And the way the PFL is structured right now, the European tournament has started, the regular season tournament has kicked off as well. So we're basically going to be looking at maybe Paul in the PFL right now, maybe fighting another one or two showcase fights before he can get into the tournament, which should start next year. I don't know whether he wants to do that, number one. Plus, Andy, we've been on here on the Owl Triangle, and we've been kind of speaking about Bellator and PFL matchmaking in the past, and certain fighters have come out of PFL and Bellator with a level of frustration about only being allowed to kind of fight a small number of times a year over in Ireland maybe. And, you know, we should still have those same thoughts with Paul Hughes here. And I mean, when we're talking about Paul Hughes, I want everybody to understand we're talking about just Paul Hughes here. Now, another fighter in a similar situation to Paul, it might be a little bit different, where another promotion might suit them a little bit better at this stage in their career. But we're talking about one of the leading prospects in the world right now, a guy who I think can go in there and beat ranked opposition in the UFC right now. So I think that really helps him out in terms of, you know, getting to where he wants to be. So I always said, and I use it about Peter Creeley, an old dog for the hard road and a pup for the path. I mean, sometimes you've got to travel down that hard road to get to where you want to be. And whilst you might get paid early days from the PFL, are they a company right now that's in transition? Yes, they are. Do they have it all figured out? I don't think so, looking from the outside in, to be honest. I mean, they've only bought it out a couple of months back. They're still kind of figuring out what's happening with Bellator. There hasn't been too much changes in regards of structure and how it's kind of being run at the PFL side of things as well. I think, you know, Paul is definitely not going to get the money that he would have got with the PFL from the get-go that he is going to get from the UFC. And it will be up to Tim Simpson to do his work and try to get Paul as much money as he can for his entry into the UFC. And I think, you know, it's a good partnership there. I think Tim has some good ties and has guided a lot of current UFC fighters in the right direction as well. I feel there's a position here where Paul Hughes could be, you know, signed to the UFC and him getting lined up to fight on a UFC Dublin card. Possibly even as a main event if he gets in there, wins 2 fights this year, and you know, he could be quickly propelled up there. We've seen that happen with plenty of other people there as well. Look, that's also going to be there with the PFL as well. And you know, PFL are struggling for ticket sales, not in France, but they are in Ireland, they are in the US. I mean, Dana White went absolutely ham on him last night in the press conference, saying that, you know, they were offering tickets to buy 2 get 2 free kind of a job. Now, you always have to take what Dana takes with a pinch of salt, but from looking in, like, they're not seem to be doing too good for ticket sales right now. They don't seem that they have the foundations to challenge the UFC right now as the top organization. So I think that kind of all accumulates to what you were saying, Andy, in terms of, do you bank on yourself where you can go to the UFC and you can control that situation a little bit more, because he's confident in his abilities. I am, and a lot of other people are confident in his abilities of going in there and winning fights in the UFC. You go in there and you win fights in the UFC, that will open up other avenues to make more money as well. And I think, like you, I feel it would be an absolute crying shame if he was not to sign for the UFC. But I will say here and say with that level of understanding as well, you know, we're never going to walk a mile in his shoes. And if he wants to go to the PFL and they are offering him crazy money that he can't turn down, go and fucking take that too at the same time.
And here's the thing that we're talking about, you know, what would we like to see and given our personal opinions. But let's look at the other side. Let's say Paul Hughes signs for PFL tomorrow. There are some very positive signs that I have seen from PFL. Like if you look at the likes of a Nathan Kelly, they're getting him out. We'll talk about him later on. He's already booked again. Like he's back to back fights. So they are doing, and I realize that's under the Bellator banner currently, but it's PFL, you know, that are running the show now. So they're making changes to what were previous frustrations under the Bellator regime for certain fighters, because some fighters were more than happy and they did get their fights, but others didn't. And you'd see them asking for releases from their contracts and wanted to be, you know, fighting on the regional scene. But you do have improvements that I've seen there. I think that Paul Hughes, if he was in PFL, could provide a massive impact onto the Irish shows. And then, you know, you look at guys like Pedro Carvalho, who's fighting this weekend against Brendan Loughnane. That's a huge fight. So there are, you know, it depends on the fighter, and I think Paul Hughes would be one of those fighters if he was in the PFL who would be handled appropriately, you know, versus 100%. Some of the other Irish fighters who maybe were left a little bit frustrated, not active enough, not getting the matchups they want. I think Paul Hughes would not be the case there. I think he would get big fights in big spots. I think he'd be fighting frequently if he's, you know, fit and healthy and able and wants to. So I do think there's a lot of promise there within the PFL. I just personally think that I would like to see him in the UFC instead.
The argument was, you know, and he very wisely said, and his thought process is he doesn't want to take damage for very little pay, and that's the way you should be thinking too. You got to be putting yourself first. But at the same time, you know, if you do sign with the PFL and you do enter into those regular season tournaments, I do believe that that's the hardest competition that you're going to get in mixed martial arts right now. Over the course of 12 to 18 weeks, you could be turning around 4 or 5 times, which, you know, we've seen Brendan Loughnane do it and then fail to do it again. Everybody that fights in those kind of tournaments say that it's how difficult it is on the body, because you're not giving yourself any off time there. You're fighting, you're in camp, and you know, while it's good and you earned $1 million, you work for that $1 million. You do definitely earn it in the PFL, but on more stages there's exciting fights for him over in Bellator as well. Aaron Pico fight, Jeremy Kennedy fight, you know, Patricio Pitbull. But then, you know, the other end of that is we don't know how long Bellator is going to be around for. There's a lot of things up in the air right now with the PFL Bellator situation, and, you know, is it a thing? And I'm very excited to find out what Paul eventually chooses. Is he going to maybe gamble on himself a little bit and maybe get a little bit lower pay, kind of feed himself up with success in the UFC and eventually get some of those big paydays? It's very, very exciting to see. We could probably talk about this for the rest of the podcast too, Andy, if you want, but I do have to admit we're a little bit tight for time, so we've got to get things moving. Any final thoughts on this topic before we move on?
Not really, other than it's a very, very exciting time. I'm sure we will find out more. And yeah, I can't wait to see what's next. It's
slightly off topic as well. While we're talking about free agents, we got to mention Danny McCormack as well, who was in a similar enough situation than Paul. You know, did an interview with James Sheehan on SevereMMA channel. She is a free agent from Invicta. I think the UFC would also be foolish to not snap her up as well. She definitely deserves that chance as well. And, you know, if we got Paul and Danny in the UFC, that would be absolutely massive. And it would also help for that, you know, long-awaited Irish show as well. I think, you know, with Ian Gary's situation, you know, what he said, he got a lot of criticism for it, but, you know, he might be in a position if he beats Cody or Colby Covington that he might not be capable of headlining an event. So that's why I'm looking at a guy like maybe Paul Hughes, who can go get up there, get into the ranked opponents, and maybe, you know, come over there and headline a UFC event. And people might say, well, you know, he's not selling out Cage Warrior shows. But that doesn't matter. I mean, those Cage Warrior shows were set up, number one, at short notice. There's very little, you know, time to kind of get hype and get adjusted to buy tickets. But number two, the UFC comes into town, it's going to sell out anyway, no matter.
Paul Hughes, Paddy Pimblett.
Ooh, imagine that as a UFC Dublin event in 2025. Goodness gracious, unreal.
But to your point, like, they've just announced Conor McGregor's coming back 29th of June. Paul Hughes, Danny McCormack, get them on the card.
Get them all on it. Get the whole on.
What an opportunity. Get them on.
Brilliant. We'll move on down the card a little bit here as we're progressing. Ger Harris versus Gregory Wamtan in the flyweight division.
Jerry
Jitsu broke out here. Look at it. He admitted himself. I mean, there's no secret. He had a tough time in that fight. But, you know, we talked about character building performances. I think we could liken Jer's to Paul's and to James's in different ways. And, you know, not accepting that defeat, showing that grit and determination to turn things around after eating a hellacious illegal knee, to come out there and do that to Wamtan, a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, getting the sub, butterfly guillotine. Serious performance from Ger Harris, wasn't it, Andy? And it really kind of, you know, topped off and continued the success for Team Rhino on the night. They were really riding the crest of a wave on this event.
Yeah, it reminded me, I know it was only a single round, and it felt like way longer than a round for some reason, but it was only one round, but it reminded me of the Paddy McCarry and Samir Kaddi kind of performance, that comeback submission, you know, where you're not having it your own way, you're losing the fight, and you're finding a way to win. And not every fight's going to be you go in there and you sparkle it out in 5 seconds, or you go in and dominate. Sometimes you just need to find a way to win. And I think that's a skill in itself when it comes to fighting, you know, the ability to adapt and overcome, and especially after taking that knee where, you know, he wasn't looking like Jerry wasn't looking like that he was going to pull it out of the bag, and then he gets cracked with this illegal knee, and all of a sudden, he delivers. So
basically, you should just get down on one knee and take a shot at the start of every fight. If he gets that reaction out of him, it was serious. Because let's be real. As my earphone falls out, that was a route to leave that fight for Ger Harris. You know, the other fighter in his position, maybe noticing the fight wasn't going his way, you take a shot like that, and you would have every right to make the decision not to continue on there after taking that illegal blow. Not for Ger Harris. That's not within. That's what John Anik said. That's not the cloth that he was cut from. And
that is not the cloth from which he is cut.
Yeah, 100%. Ger Harris with a fantastic win. Another guy with a fantastic win, Andy, Decky McAleenan. And I mean, we can talk ourselves here about it, but why not talk about it with the man himself, Decky McAleenan? Let's head over and talk to him after that big win over Ville Mannequin, getting the win by TKO. Lots of barriers that he had to get on, and he's going to discuss them all in the interview. So we're going to head back over and talk to Decky right now. And now we welcome back to the Auld Triangle Decky McAleenan after his big Cage Warriors win recently. The one-arm bandit, we could call you now, Decky, after the win as well. If there's one sure way of guaranteeing you an old spot on the Auld Triangle, that's coming out to the actual Auld Triangle song, Decky, which you did for the fight as well. So yeah. How are things? How are you feeling after the fight? Obviously, you look at a bit of bad luck with the arm break and everything like that, but all in all, a very good night's work for you.
Yeah, it's one of them things. It was a rough week throughout fight week as well. I'd got an infection, so I did, and then started taking antibiotics the Friday or Saturday before it, and then fucking ended up with a chest infection then on Wednesday night. And whenever I was taking my last dose of antibiotics on Thursday, and they'd completely just fucked me. So they did, like, see, with the because it was on the last meal Wednesday night, then I was on a liquid diet on Thursday. The antibiotics just didn't react well. I think it was like 4 doses of them with no food, like, you know, and
jeez, yeah.
It came from like whenever we started in the bath, I had the bath up as hot as we could get it, where my skin was turning red, but it was stone cold. You know, like, and couldn't sweat at all. And then I had throughout the day I was getting nauseous, feeling sick, and I had fucking a dose of the old shits as well. Like, sorry for using my language, but you know, like, that's it. The antibiotics, that's what they'd started doing to my stomach, like, you know. So I was like, this is going to be rough enough, but sure, at least we'll get it done. And then the first stint in the bath, get out of the bath, it was drifting in and out of blacking out, because nothing to do with the weight cut. Like, I think I arrived like 6 pound overweight, so I was in a perfect place for an easy cut, like, you know. But then I was like drifting in and out of blacking out and consciousness, and then fucking whenever I did wake up, I was bulking my guts up, and And it was like drifting back out again. Everything was going black again, and then coming back round, bulking everywhere, and then back out again. And I wasn't sick twice. I was sick a couple of times in the bath, and then whenever I got I had to sort of sort myself out, get the sweatsuit on and get into the sauna blanket, like to try and make the rest of the weight. But it was tight now. We were close to calling it a day on Thursday night just because I wasn't fit to do anything, and I wasn't reacting, wasn't letting go of any sweat at all. But lucky enough.
That's a bit mad though, Decky. Like obviously, like you've cutting weight. Like Ian has experienced this before. He's cut weight, but for anyone listening who like doesn't really get it or hasn't experienced this, like you're losing loads of fluids, and from being kind of sick, and now you're going in and needing to lose a lot more fluid.
Yeah,
I imagine that's quite difficult for the weight cut.
Tough enough doing the weight cut as is. But when you're dealing with all of that outside stuff as well, and the inability to sweat is a big one, of course. And then obviously the empty stomach, like your stomach is going to be a little bit upset anyway. But of course, with the strong antibiotics, you must have been in a hell of a place, man.
I was. It was. This fight week has been enough to put me off, like pushing the kids into fighting whenever they're older. It's just like this has been the week that you sort of fallen out of the love of the sport. Like it's not for everything. You had to go to like a fucking dark place, a bad place all week to get through it. Then it left. By the time I got to the fight, I don't even think I had £10 back on me. I was walking about like, I'd say maybe Wednesday or Thursday morning, maybe I might have been £10 overweight, and I hadn't even gone back into the fight. I don't even think I had that on me. It just wasn't as a shell of myself. It didn't look good, like Joe. But I kept saying to myself all week, it was like you have 15 minutes to perform and you can be sick on Sunday. Like that's it. Whenever Cage Warriors come to Ireland, the crowd I bring, the support I bring, everything. I'm not letting them down. I'm not showing up. Just as I said, it's easy. You can do anything for 15 minutes, and then after that, then we'll worry about whatever way the body is.
Jeez, yeah. Well, there was a brilliant atmosphere in the RDF, Decky, and I mean the hardships that you had before the fight, they didn't really showcase in the fight because you went out there, man, and you performed absolutely excellently. And Manny, were saying, and I want to agree, and I want to ask you, up there, one of the best performances of your career, and it makes it even more impressive, to be honest, considering everything that you went through before the fight.
Yeah, it was. It's one of them ones now where the performance is just before I made the walk, I turned around to the boys and just said, look, fuck it, let's go and have fun. I'm just going to let loose. Like it's the way sort of I've got by in the past as an amateur, as starting off my pro career. Just take a big deep breath, say fuck it, and away you go. Like and just whatever happens. Like just try and deal with the consequences as best as possible. So that suits me. I'm back to my old self. Like as we've said, like last year going back to featherweight, it's a different kettle of fish now. Like I'm sacrificing a lot of things with my family, and it's paying off. It's putting you into that mind frame that it's all or nothing, and then back to normality after it. Then
Yeah, 100%. And you went in with Phil Mannequin as well. No joke either. And on top of everything else, you got your arm broken at some stage of the fight as well. I mean, the bad luck kept on coming, Decky. Obviously, the first time I noticed it was during the finishing sequence when you're kind of looked at it after the fact. Yeah. When did you notice in the fight that your arm had broken?
As soon as he kicked me, I thought he broke my wrist. I didn't think it was my arm. I thought it was my wrist, because whenever I was moving, I could feel like any kind of rotation. You could just feel it crunching. So I was like, my wrist must be broke here, because nothing else bends in your arm, nothing else rotates in your arm. But I didn't think that he had snapped my bloody forearm in half. Like, I didn't think that was the extent of the damage, but it was. But soon, I think it was about 15, 20 seconds into the second round, he throws one body kick or a head kick in round, sort of high kick. And I stuck my arm out lazy to block the thing. I had no call. I don't even think if I had just took a wee step, the kick just would have went on past me. But I put my arm out soft, and it took the brunt of the kick, unfortunately.
Were you happy with the fight and how it was progressing before that incident happened, and obviously on the lead up to the finish too? It seemed, you're throwing up with triangles, being as active as ever off your back in round one. You had a little bit of a complaint to Rich Mitchell at the end of the first round. What was that about?
Just the amount of headbutts I got hit. Like he was giving off, and then he had said to me about my toes in the cage, and after what happened last year, being taken out of an armbar for like. I didn't have my toes in the cage. My foot was against the fence, and like if there's a gap, if you're pressed against something and there's a gap, sometimes like a digit sticks in. I don't know whether it be a finger or a toe or whatever. It's not holding the cage, or it's not putting your foot in the cage. So he had said to me about putting my foot in the cage, and I was like, never mind that, boys. I could hit a load of headbutts there. Like never mind, fucking putting the toe. Like it just so they were just having a wee back and forward. There was nothing. And he said something to me, I said something back to him, and then we're like, right, he's like, I've warned him, I'm just warning you too, like, so doesn't really.
Yeah, not pretty irrelevant going into round two. You took the kick, you felt obviously something happened. Did that kind of give you the spur to kind of drive on in this fight, where you kind of maybe had in the back of your mind, something is not right here, I really got to push forward and try and get the finish here in round two?
No, because I was still comfortable. Now, I think I would have had his back. See, now my arm did let me down. Whenever he shot, he dropped low on a single and sort of stayed underneath me. I had the crossface 9 out of 10 times throughout my fight career, and probably like any time it's happened in my fight, I've taken someone's back off the transition, but the crossface was just dead. Like I had my arm was there, but it wasn't doing anything, and then. You can sort of see off the takedown whenever I hit the cage, I go to move or I go to hit him, and you can see I'm sort of stuck, and I'm kind of looking of what's next here, what can I do and what can't I do? And then whenever we were on our back, it was more, he didn't even give off about the stand up. I'd hurt him badly with an elbow or two somewhere in the process of the whole thing, because the referee tells him once, that he's going to have to work, he's going to have to be active, or you're going to get stood up. And he was like, this is your second warning. And then I cracked him a big elbow, and for 1:10 he sat with his head on my chest. He didn't improve the position at all. Didn't try to move, just sat with his hands on his head trying to cover his head. So I don't know if that was the elbow that hurt him, or he was hurt before that. I'm not too sure. But then whenever we got stood up, he didn't want to stand up, and I could see whenever he was getting up, he was looking at the ground and looking at different things. And I remember just going, I'm going to drive my boot in him for breaking my arm. Like, that was the first thing that was, because kicking wasn't part of the game plan. Yeah. But I remember just going, I'm going to drive my boot in him as soon as he gets back to his feet. And then lucky enough, the head kick hurt him. He went back into the cage, and it was just time to go.
That's it. No looking back there. So go ahead, Andy.
No, I was going to say, like, it was brilliant. Like, the atmosphere, I thought, Decky, was fantastic for you, and it really gave the RDS crowd a boost, because obviously Taka had just fought, you came out and got that big win, but like it was a real, I would say that was like a vintage Decky McAleenan performance, where sometimes you do get taken down on occasion, but you're throwing elbows from your back, you're throwing up triangles, and then to pull off a ferocious finish like that, I kind of said after, and I include myself in this, that you are one of the most underrated, or underappreciated fighters in Irish MMA. But that seemed like, looking at the way the crowd kind of reacted to you in the finish, it felt like a special moment inside the arena. Did it feel special to you?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that's like that. That's sort of me cheering whenever I stopped them. See that celebration? Like, I don't think you get much raw than that. That started off as a celebration, which turned into just a scream of agony as well. Like, it was that's a proper war cry, that one. So it is, like, but that's what it was. There was an awful lot riding on it. There was an awful lot of support. Like the crowd from Newry that came up, like we had one full block, and then just had to open it up to get them all out, just wherever they could sit. So like the support we had was ridiculous, and I do feel that I am one of the most overlooked sort of fighters, like, because I've seen in the build up to it, it was like, who's your main event for like on other people that up, like, who's your main event, and I wasn't even in the fucking picture, like, the 4 other main card fights, like, so I'm taking that as like massive like disrespect on my behalf. Like, John, there's no one deserves to be on that. That if you're only going to pick 4, I should be in the mix there. Like, John, like there's as you said yourself, like that's 9 wins now, 8 finishes, and I fight everyone and anyone. So there's never been an issue with that. Like, so it is. It was like that was a message that I did appreciate. Like,
did it? One more. Did it?
Yeah, go ahead.
At this moment in your career, you're 32 years old now, right?
Yeah.
You're now 2-fight win streak, and I know like you've had your ups and downs in your career where you've traded wins and losses and draws even, and it's kind of now or never, right, to get the momentum going. Did it mean something extra because of where you're at in your career, because of the commitments and the sacrifices that you're making, obviously with the family now as well?
Yeah, it's good to be proven people wrong. Like, John, it's not like I'm not bitter, as in saying like I shouldn't, John, like I'm not holding that against someone like, oh, well, you just put them on and John, like you didn't put me in the poster. See now the fact that they're going to have to come back and ask me for something because now I'm going to put this run together. That's the sort of things that do me well. Like, John, like it's not, I don't really mind about like John what age I am and the sacrifices and stuff. Like that's not the issue. We're going to get, like I not give up on myself, and as long as the child's happy with me fighting and the wife's happy with me fighting, I'll continue to fight until I get to where I want to be. John, like at least won a world title, at least.
Yeah, because we spoke ahead of your last Dublin fight against Wasi Ashinda. And that was like a real, I messed up that one a big time, but whatever. That was a big that was a big crossroads of your career, because like Andy had said, you're coming off the draw from Lister and the losses to McIntosh and Harilla. So that was a huge win. But then, you know, to really double down with this one against McAleenan as well, I think, you know, it kind of really, you know, probably gave you that confidence that you can get this run together, that you can kind of push, you know, like a lot of people would have maybe looked at that draw and the 2 losses where, you know, you could think about throwing in the towel. I'm sure there was plenty of dark days in and around that time for you, Decky, as well. But, you know, coming through that sequence, getting that last win, getting this win, and everything that you went through before the fight, the barn break, everything. It's just like some things are meant to be sometimes. And to go out there and perform the way you did, I thought was excellent. And if no one was talking about it before, there was plenty of people talking about it after, that's for sure.
Definitely was. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Moving on, you said that you wanted to go for the prize fighter, Decky. Is that something that's still on your radar now? Does the injury kind of hinder that a little bit, or what are you thinking?
The time frame, just whenever it has. See, to be honest with you, boys, this week has sort of been lost because whenever I got the operation Sunday and then I was up and I was messing about, I was in the hospital Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday trying to get sorted with being switched over from the south to the north. So I haven't really got a chance to figure out when the prize fighter's on, or I haven't seen too much about it. I've been trying to sort the show out as well. I was trying to fight your fighting championship, trying to get it sorted too. But 100%, if the time frame is there, I'd love to get in the prize fighter. There's no, like, that sort of stuff suits me down to the ground, boys.
Yeah. Why the prize fighter? Is it because, like, do you feel like it's your specific style? Like you come in to finish, you've got 8 or 9 pro finishes now in your career. Is it your style that you feel kind of matches up well with that tournament style, that one night tournament?
Yeah, it's been able to, like, I've fought in a tournament before, and it's been able to like deal with like obstacles. Do you know, like everyone deals with obstacles throughout fight camp, sort of do. Like, do you know, whenever you're just training to fight one person, but whenever you're training to, like, whenever you're in a tournament, I grew up fighting in karate competitions, so I'm used to the tournament format. I'm used to having to get ready to fight 2, 3, 4, 5 people a day. So I think it's that kind of thing that suits me. You know, plus I'm a finisher. I don't take damage in fights. Bar I'm sitting here with a broken arm, but I don't usually take damage in fights. So there's your first one. You're usually fresh to go straight into the next fight. If you get taken, don't, like, it's usually like, I think my style suits fighting more than once in one night, and then, as I said, like, you're only getting going the first fight, so then you're sort of hitting your stride, so you're performing the second fight, then you're kind of performing to the best of your ability. Like, you've got the sort of, you get to hit your second wind, you know.
100%. Yeah, no, it'd be good. What's the time scale on the recovery for the injury now, Decky, or is it too early in the process to kind of even talk about that right now?
Yeah, I'm back down on Tuesday. Hopefully get my staples and all out, and then I get more answers then, because they weren't 100% sure whether they were happy, whether the operation was successful or not. Just with swapping over from one doctor to another doctor, just from the south to the north. So there was a bit of messing about and that there, and then I had to get a CT scan. And whenever I came out, I never actually got the results of the CT scan. The doctor was away on home. So I'll find out on Tuesday then whether it's a success. And then if it is, I think it's just because they've put the plates and that in it, I think it's a simple like 6 to 8 weeks to recover, just to let the bone reheal, and the plates are like have rebuilt the bone, so it's pretty much good to go. Like,
you're stronger than ever, that's for sure. You know, you'll keep yourselves busy, I'm sure, on the run up to the next tour event as well, the 26th of May. It's something good, obviously, to keep your mind off things. I'm sure you'll be missing the training and everything like that. You got a big card again, I'm sure, lined up as well. Any kind of fights you want to give away, or anything in the works there that we might get excited about, or are you looking forward to this event coming up?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this, right? We have the featherweight title is going to be on the line again. We have the middleweight title is going to be there. The welterweight title. The flyweights aren't going there. I'd say we've got maybe 6 or 7 titles. We have another women's bantamweight title fight. So, yeah, we have a couple there. We have Sen and Coakley fighting Shea Leitrim. That's the welterweight title. We have, and then Sarah Elliott Sheridan's fighting Chloe Crozier for the bantamweight, for the women's bantamweight. We have a couple other ones, but I'll keep them quiet for the minute until I get the posters made.
Yeah, no worries at all. We won't push it too much.
They've a lot to live up to the last one after that McGuigan and Clellan fight. My God.
Crazy. Talk to me about Shea Cleland. I mean, that was a serious fight. I mean, I was saying, and the boys were saying after watching that fight, I'd watch those two boys scrap almost every weekend if I could.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. Like such a talent, like two talented young fellas. I think Damien might be 20 and Shea's 19. Like, you know, it's crazy. Like, you know, it was fitting to be the main event of the show. You know, like it was. You'll not find two amateurs at that level. You know, like fight. You won't find fights like that. Sorry, like, you know, like, and that's once in a blue moon sort of stuff to get that kind of thing on your show. You know, so like, I was lucky that I was able to get it, and like neither. I still think Shea won the fight. Like, I think if he hadn't caught Damien with a kick in the balls towards the end of the first round, that's what sort of stole the round for Damien then, because the last 45 seconds or so of the round after the break, Damien sort of edged that part of it. So sometimes with the gap in the round, with the break, and then Damien getting like the last wee bit of the round, that could be enough to steal him the first round, you know, that sort of way.
Yeah.
But second round, Damien, third round, Shea, that was my opinion. But such a fight. Like, it's one of the most, talking about myself being sort of like underappreciated. Shea Cleland, like, isn't in the rankings, isn't high up the rankings or anything, like, but if you look at the people he's fought, like, you know, like, look at the people he's beat, you know, like, look at the people that have beat him, it's like the rankings just go to show they don't mean nothing, because like that's a quality record to have. And yes, I think he's 5-3 or 5-4, but like the level doesn't.
It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Like, I mean, you know, your wins and losses at an amateur go out the door. It's about what level of competition you face, what challenges you give yourself, the experience you gain, and obviously the skill acquisition. I mean, you can tell us better than anyone. There ain't no greater experience. You can do all the training that you want, but actually getting in there for some live action when you're fighting as well, that's the greatest experience that you can get. So like, I would really commend a guy like Shea in the way that he's approaching his amateur careers, the way you should be doing it, putting yourself in with the toughest tests, getting the toughest challenges, and that'll get you massively ready for the pro scene. Another guy I want to talk to you about, Decky, before we let you go, Kieran Brady, phenomenal performance at Cage Warriors as well, and you're smiling when I'm mentioning his name, and a lot of people. Such a nice fella. Gave a great interview to Andy after the fight, after such a tremendous performance and win at Cage Warriors. It must have been great to see that.
Yeah, no, as Kieran's a gentleman, so he is. Like, that's, I don't think anyone that would meet him would have a bad word to say about him. So humble, so like everything. Like, so whenever I had said to him about, look, what do you reckon? I'm struggling to get you matched here on on my last show. What do you think? Will we try and get you matched in Cage Warriors? And he's saying like Kieran's confidence isn't always there, and he was and he said yes to me. So within a couple of days, Ian had a match. So I texted Kieran, well, that's you on. So he was like a child of Christmas. So he was then, so being able to, as I said, like I set up my show as like a feeder for, it started off for the Torres boys, but then it's kind of like, as I said in an interview before, it's the more it grows, the more connections you get with the other clubs. I think that's how my support was so well, the 2 fights in Ireland as well, because like you get on with all the other clubs in the country, they all know you, all the amateur fighters in the crowd know you, and I get on well with them all, so they all kind of have, trying to give you a wee bit of support too. Like, so getting Kieran that fight was unbelievable, John. Like, and getting to see him actually get the job done, like, was great.
Yeah, is it surprising to you? Because it was very surprising to me when he was talking to me afterwards, that he kind of has this kind of imposter syndrome where he doesn't believe in himself, and these are the conversations going on in his head when you look at, he's on a 7-fight win streak at amateur. He was fighting all the tough guys and beating them. Yeah. And then he goes in there in his pro debut and gets a finish in the second round. Like, that kind of blows my mind a little bit, that like he's such a humble guy, and he's like, he clearly doesn't think highly enough of himself. Yeah. Like, do you notice that, or like, is that kind of odd to you? Like, do you see that in the training room as well, or?
Yeah. Like, Kane's just a workhorse. Like, he's one of them boys, like, he's not the fastest, he's not the strongest, he's not the most skillful, but he's just one of them boys that's there the whole time, like, and like the work rate that he has put in, like, if he can't make certain classes because of his work and family life, he comes down, and if he has to do 2 or 3 of the toughest sessions of the week back to back, he'll do them 2 or 3 sessions back to back and not cry about it, like, whereas if, like, say, someone like myself that works in the gym, I could maybe spread that out. I can get my hard training, my light training, then my sort of easy enough training then in the evening sort of thing. Kieran will come down and do, like, he does like the 2 hardest classes of the week, the competition class on Saturday, and then sparring. He does the 2 of them back to back and does them with no problem. Like, no, I need to do this or change my sparring to this day or do this. He just comes in and works hard, like,
Yeah, 100%. And that'll definitely, the confidence will come with the performances and everything like that. And I mean, he should be massively confident after that great win as well, Decky, as should you after your great win as well. It's been great to get to chat to you again. We're wishing you a speedy recovery. Hopefully you get that prize fight, or you get to go in there and get that 50 Gs. Thanks for taking the time, Decky. All the best for the upcoming Noor show as well. May 26th is when that is taking place as well. All the best to you. Thanks for the time, Decky, and we'll talk to you again down the line too, I'm sure.
Thank you for having me, and I'm sorry, Andy, I missed you after the thing was taken to the hospital.
You had bigger fish to fry than me.
Yeah, fairly solid.
Hanging off you.
It's a solid excuse, like, but cheers, lads. Thank you.
We got you here. Hospital for fuck's sake, like, jeez. Really.
Why didn't you go and visit him, Andy, in the hospital?
That's what they want with your boy, huh? No,
yeah, 100%. Thanks a million. Take care,
Decky. All the best. Bye.
Not a night to remember, unfortunately, for Takamandu, Andy. Disappointing performance for Taka. Couldn't really get anything going. Was unable to kind of get the fight down when it was, or get back up to his feet when the fight was taken down. And we said this was going to be a difficult test. I mean, Rory Evans, his record doesn't tell how good of a fighter he actually is, and bags and bags of experience too, which can get you through some of these situations as well. Survived a choke attempt in the first round, but succumbed to a couple of shots in round 2. And, Taka was coming in here on a good run, on good form, and, just unfortunate for him to kind of experience that a building performance for him. He'll go back to the drawing board, and sure, he'll be back, but he'll be good as per usual. But not all is lost with Taka's performance. He could get back there if there's anything. I would guess he'd be back to winning ways fairly soon.
Yeah, look, it was obviously a disappointing performance. He just didn't really have an answer for Rory Evans in the end. Like, I thought he had some moments of success in the clinch, but ultimately, when Evans got him down, he wasn't able to get back up. Wasn't really. I don't think we really saw many sub attempts from the bottom, and Evans just did a brilliant job of controlling them and controlling the action, and ultimately, getting the finish. Obviously, he looked for the choke at one point. Taka survived it, but then pretty much immediately you just started raining down shots, and that was all she wrote. So a disappointing night in the office. Probably not a whole lot of positives to take for Taka from that, but we've seen him rebuild before, and I don't see any reason as to why he can't again. And it just feels like something hasn't clicked yet with Taka. I don't think we've seen his potential, his full potential in the cage yet, which is frustrating for him more than anyone, I would say. So look, maybe we could be talking in a few fights time where it all kind of comes together, but right now it's just not for Taka.
That's the word that, sometimes you just need it to click, and it seemed that, things were clicking for him in these previous two fights, and he looked great. And, sometimes, that's what you have to deal with as a fighter. You're expected to go out there and you have to deliver every single night. If you have an off night, you have an off night, and it happens to a lot of fighters. But like I said, hopefully Taka gets the bounce back that he deserves, and he'll be back for sure.
And credits for Rory Evans, because he didn't allow Taka, where we saw Taka.
He found that route and he went with it. Yeah, he went with it, and he didn't make it easy. No shame in losing to a guy like Rory Evans, that's for sure. Moving down along, Solomon Simon picked up an unbelievable win. One of the performances of the night for me. Obviously, James Sheehan up there with performances of the night. Ger Harris come back from behind. But when we're talking about level of performance overall here and what we've seen from Solomon Simon, Andy, and we've seen this as his amateur career has progressed and also in the early days of his professional career, but a guy who is leveling up every single time he steps into the cage. And he fought a tough guy here in Ewan McKenzie, another undefeated prospect, and got a beautiful rear naked choke at the end of the second round. And I was massively, massively impressive with Solomon Simon here. The type of performance that I'm chomping at the bit to see him go in there again and see further improvements. And, Redzer was talking on the comms about how good he was looking. I thought he was very right. Redzer called it down to a T in Solomon Simon's level of commitment to some strikes, where he's throwing his ones and twos, but if he could turn those ones and twos into threes and fours, which he eventually did, which led to the finish. And he talked to you about letting go a little bit more in his fights as well in the post-fight interview as well. I mean, that I'm being nitpicky when I'm being critical about that, but a tremendous, tremendous performance from Solomon Simon, and he's definitely one to watch in the featherweight division.
He really does look like he's just leveling up every single time, and his striking and his control of range I find very, very impressive. When I would have seen him as an amateur, it was more so his grappling that would kind of would have taken note of. But his striking is so crisp; it looks so polished now. I thought he did a great job with the low kicks early. He was sliding out of range anytime McKenzie was kind of throwing anything back. Obviously, a large portion of, and he dropped him with a huge right hand.
Lovely shot
early.
Lovely shot.
So he's got that power as well to put lads away. I think if I recall correctly, Redzer was kind of saying, go after him, go for the
that's what I mean. Yeah, of course, it comes with time and with confidence. I mean, no better start to a fight than dropping somebody that can kind of lead you on to that. But it's
on the other side though. It's patient. You could follow them down and play into their game. So like I
said, nitpicky. When you get the result that he did get in the end, there's not too much that you can criticize there. But it's showcasing that power a little bit more in terms of getting those combinations off and pushing forward and being dominant. But like you said, you hit the nail on the head there. That comes, and I guarantee you, we're going to see improvements. And I was delighted to hear him say it himself as well after the fight, which means he's fully aware of it. And when you're aware of something, that means you can go and you can work on it, you can fix it. But it's more so, him finding his feet in the professional ranks as well. But like I said, he's been better and better and better. He's going out there and finishing these guys and looking good doing so as well. So, he
looks like a lad who could win a title.
Unbelievable prospect, yeah, 100%. I wouldn't doubt it at all. And he's going to have a big year ahead of him now. He's going to have a couple of big fights, maybe 1 or 2 this year. And, you know, we could very well see him marching towards that title in 2025, and that's very, very exciting. And the level of progression he's shown, for me, is the most exciting thing with Solomon Simon. You know, moving on to Scott Harvey, who had another great win over Enrico Di Ganghi. An absolute war, this one, wasn't it, Andy? Like, really, really tough, gritty fight. An absolute barn burner overall. Harvey ate some big shots. Di Ganghi hit some big shots, but ultimately, I think the judges got it right, scoring the unanimous decision 29-28. On 2 judges' scorecards, a 30-27 as well, which I could see, and ultimately a very impressive performance from Scott Harvey.
Yeah, really, really impressive, and Jesus, Di Ganghi took his fair few licks, like, in that point.
Serious.
But like, you could tell he was kind of like a bit chiseled, or a bit, like, you know, he just had a bit of fight smarts about him, where he was getting maybe tagged, but he'd make it awkward. He'd push Harvey against the fence. He'd look to grapple. He'd try and make it a bit of a dirty fight, not in a negative way, just a bit of a scrappy fight, and that he did. Harvey really, the third round, I thought, was the most fan-friendly one. That's when it really came alive. Harvey started connecting with some serious shots. There was one right hand. I don't know how Di Ganghi stayed up, but, you know, he stayed in there. He kept firing back. Landed a huge head kick on Harvey that kind of he ate like it was nothing. So, you know, a real crowd pleaser. One that'll definitely you know, warm the fans up to Scott Harvey 100%. And, you know, we've seen him go in there and dominate in the grappling and get finishes off the back or off from mount or wherever. But there is something to be said, you know, going in there and testing your mettle and seeing, okay, well, when I can't put a guy away, how do I show up? How do I, you know, crack on? Where's my plan B? Where's my plan C, etc.? And I thought that Harvey did a great job there. And yeah, it'll be very interesting to see now. What I'm looking forward to seeing now is how he kicks on from here, and how active we see him over the next, say, 18 months. Because he spoke to us on the L Triangle a few weeks back about, you know, he's not young. So he's been fighting for 10 years, and he kind of needs to kick on quickly here when it comes to Cage Warriors and progressing on. So that'll be very interesting to watch now over the next number of months and year even.
Absolutely, it will. Some good wins for Ryan Shelley, Emer Darcy, Kieran Brady as well. Andy, obviously Ryan Shelley getting the unanimous decision win over Callum Parker. Emer Darcy getting the TKO win inside 1 round over Jenny Lynn. And Kieran Brady picking up a fantastic submission win over Thomas Sadanowski by rear naked choke. We spoke with Decky a little bit about Kieran on that fight as well. Their thoughts on those 3 fights, Andy? Really, really good performances. Good to see Ryan getting back into the win column. An important win for him. Emer, fantastic win. It's going to be difficult to find matchups for Emer, but I hope she gets taken on Cage Warriors. And, you know, she definitely has all the skills and the capabilities, you know, for Cage Warriors to maybe build a flyweight division around her and try and get her to matches en route to getting a title shot down the line. But, you know, I don't think she's going to be that easy to kind of match make, to be honest, based off what we've seen. And of course, Kieran Brady with an excellent submission as well, and spoke very well to you after the fight.
Yeah, I'll start with Ryan. Look, I wouldn't say that's the best performance of Ryan Shelley's career, but that doesn't matter. He needed a win here. And you could kind of tell that it was a bit of a relief to get it done. And look, he was in there against a guy who, I know he's picked up a number of losses, but he's a dangerous guy. This chap, Parker, dropped Luke Riley twice, I think, when they fought in the first round. He's had some very, very tough fights in his own career. So for Shelley to go out there and get the win is, you know, it's a solid win to get back in the win column, and it's something to build on. Emer Darcy looks phenomenal. She looks brilliant. Now, I will say, and this is to take nothing away from Emer, but look, Redzer said in the commentary that, you know, Line he kind of questions, like, look, she may be a glorified grappler rather than an MMA fighter, which is quite a harsh thing to say. But, you know, she came in 0-4 and she really didn't put up a fight here. It was a mismatch, if I'm being perfectly honest, and it proved to be. But look, that's not Emer Darcy's fault.
Of course.
She landed a beautiful right hand to the body that dropped her in the end. And as soon as they started to strike, you know, Line was overextending on the takedowns. Emer easily stuffed him and started to put it on her on the feet. And once they started engaging in the striking exchanges, that was the beginning of the end. So, obliterated line in the end. But yeah, it'll be tough to get a Darcy match because she looks great.
Yeah, 100%. Kieran Brady was very impressive too, hey?
Very impressive. If that's a lad who has no confidence, I'd love to see him when he has a bit of confidence about him, because
tell me about it.
Yeah, and like he's just he just wins. He just keeps on winning, and he looks great, and his grappling's brilliant. And another finish here. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes in his, early doors, his professional debut. But very excited to see how he kicks on.
100%, very exciting prospect. Moving on down the card, another great win for Darragh Ward against Ben Petches Kelly by rear naked choke in round 1. Matthew Elliott picked up a nice arm triangle choke and won via submission in round 2. We also had a loss for Sinead Newlawn against Jennifer Tiro. Jamie Abba-Bissett got the night off. Maybe we'll start with that and we'll work our way back through the rest of the fights that I mentioned.
So many fights.
So many fights. And apologies, like with time and interviews and stuff, we like get to cover these as much as we'd like to. But I definitely would like to shout out Jamie Abba-Bissett, a guy who's had a fantastic amateur career and really kind of got everybody thinking about him as a prospect in the professional ranks with the performance against Paweł Jarecki. Absolutely unbelievable, and to kick off the card as well and get the ball rolling for Team Rhino on the night. It was a really great performance. I know you enjoyed it watching it live as well, and maybe share your thoughts on the rest of the fights as well, Andy, after Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie Abba-Bissett got Team Rhino after a brilliant start. Watching his amateur run, he's had so many tough fights, and you think of the one against Gary Rooney's the one that always stands out. His experience showed here in his professional debut, and I think going in there, getting the finish, but also, he didn't rush it because he had the upper hand early on, I would say, in this fight, but he never rushed it. He was patient with his strikes. He was patient with everything he did. And
you know what that comes from? That comes from all the work that he's done at amateur. I mean, you go through and you give yourselves the tough test like Jamie did on the amateur scene. It accumulates into moments like he had there where you have to be calm in the chaos. And, it's very easy to kind of get drawn in and get a little bit wild or make a mistake. And, to open up a card as big as that as well is kind of must have been a little bit daunting for him too. But, passed everything with flying colours, man.
100%. Like speaking to the Rhino lads and Andy Ryan and them, they kind of spoke a little bit about Jamie's nerves, or that if he can, just believe in himself and I suppose kind of similar to Kieran Brady, things are really clicking, but they really didn't show in the cage, because exactly what you're talking about there, like the patience to not get drawn into something. He had, I forget the man's name now, I have it over here, Jarecki, backed up. He had him backed up at one point and he was teeing off on him against the cage, but Jarecki he wasn't fully out of it, so he was swinging back, and as soon as he swung back, Abba-Bissett was like, right, I'll reset here now. I'm not going to get, throw a hell for leather and get caught here. Reset, go again, and then ultimately he started landing the body shots and the knees and got the finish. So, a perfect performance in his pro debut.
100%. Darragh Ward, Matt Elliott got 2 great wins as well. What were your thoughts on that, Andy?
Darragh Ward, I think, could be, and I realise we're an Irish podcast talking about Irish fighters, but he's another lad I'm watching and I'm thinking and I'm seeing his last number of amateur fights, how he fought in Premier, how he's fought here. There's potential there for him to be contending for a Cage Warriors title in, say, 2 years' time. A long way to go to get to that point, but he looks very skillful in all areas. He's a finisher. He's clinical when he gets to the positions, and he showed it again there on Saturday night. And Matt Elliott, it's brilliant to see him back in the yellow gloves and successful. No controversy whatsoever here. I think he said that he's learned from that Shelley fight which he lost, and the whole thing about that was damage, and it shows in how he's fighting now. He's really putting it on, lads. He's clearly very confident in his striking now as well. He's using that to his advantage, and then to have, this is a guy who's competed at the Commonwealth Youth Games, who's competed for Team Great Britain in wrestling and judo. The accolades are all there in the grappling department. So to not even have to lead with that, and instead, I'm going to go in here, use my striking, and if I need to, I'll revert to my grappling. That's a huge asset to have. So I think he could be a serious problem, and he wants that prize fighter tournament. So I hope he gets it.
Hopefully he gets it too. I'd label that a breakout performance from Matt Elliott, to be honest. Look at, he had that close fight with Ryan Shelley, another close fight in the Octagon Challenge as well. Glad to see him back in the yellow gloves. I think he's going to get a good few challenges there, and I would expect big things from Matt Elliott if he goes out there and produces the level of performance that he did there against Eva. I mean, he's going to be big trouble as well in the featherweight division too. I mean, that featherweight division is hotting up there. I mean, we're talking about Solomon Simon as well, but Matt Elliott coming up the ranks. Maybe we could get the Andy Stevens sponsored domestic.
Oh, are you asking for?
I don't know. It would be. I'd be interested to see, but I'd be interested to see what Cage Warriors and Ian Dean. Look, at a tremendous night overall. Well done to all involved. A great night. It felt like a big night. I think you kind of encapsulated that in the aftermath of the event, Andy. Just another memorable night for Irish mixed martial arts. Obviously, you know, I think everybody celebrates a little bit seeing Team Rhino members after all the hard work that they put in for the last number of years, breeding this new crop of athletes that are coming through. It was great to kind of see it all come to fruition on the night, and they picked up 4 wins and a world title. I mean, not a bad night at the office for Andy Ryan and Neil Seary, Redzer, and the rest of the crew there at Team Rhino.
Yeah, brilliant night for Team Rhino. But you know, obviously a brilliant night for Team Rhino. They got the title. FAI went undefeated. I think Team Tars went undefeated. KF went 2-1 or 3-1, I think. You know, so just a great night overall.
A showcase of Irish mixed martial arts across all the gyms, which is also very important as well. So, and
off the back of it, and we may get into a bit of the kind of the outside of the cage stuff now, but we talk about all gyms. And look, for anyone who's been living under a rock, you've probably heard about this or now. There was a very kind of public. PC Carroll put out a statement that he had been told that he was banned from the Cage Warriors show. There was a weird thing that happened when kind of he showed up, and Graham Boylan kind of pulled him backstage, which I thought was incredibly bizarre. It was like a principal leading back a student who had been bowled or something. I thought it was very strange. But anyway, that's all been resolved. I'm delighted to hear that it's been resolved. They, you know, that seems to be kind of water under the bridge now, which is brilliant, and fair play to the two of them for resolving that. But what came off the back of that as well is Graham Boylan putting out tweets about, you know, welcoming other Irish gyms to Cage Warriors, which, look, let's call a spade here. He didn't mention it by name. He's speaking to John Kavanagh in those tweets. He's speaking to SBG. You know, this is interesting. I don't know if it actually changes anything, because I asked him at the event in the 3 Arena specifically about this, and he kind of, you know, said, oh, well, I was told there'd never be an SBG fighter on this. I pressed him. I was like, well, would you be open to it? He's like, well, I was told there'd never be an SBG fighter on this, but I'll help them out. So he seems to be, you know, extending the olive branch. Will it? The
olive branch is being handed out left, right, and centre. So it's good to see, and glad. Yeah, not a nice kind of thing to have to go through for pizza and stuff on the card. And I'm glad I think I'm glad that it just got sorted out in the end. And you know, fair play to both of them. Fair play to Graham as well for kind of being outspoken and reaching out that olive branch as well to the SBG gym or any gym as well. I think it's something that, you know, we have to commend Cage Warriors on, is that, you know, the inclusiveness of all Irish gyms, which, you know, has been a criticism with Bellator, with PFL a little bit as well, and not so much with Cage Warriors. But, you know, it'd be great to see SBG guys back fighting in Cage Warriors. I think, you know, for some fighters, it's, you know, the route that they need, and might be a topic that we can get into on another moment, or a couple of questions that we can ask to see if that's going to progress any further. But we shall move on. Talk a little bit about amateur mixed martial arts, shall we, Andy? The IMMAF European Championships took place. Team Ireland, the youth team led by Danny McCormack, came second in the medals table. A fantastic showing for them. Lots of Irish over there. Danny Core over there working on the safeguarding. Obviously, that's been a hot topic with the IMMAF over the last year or so, and it's great to see Danny Core, no better man, to go over there and ensure that everything is being kept above board. And obviously the safeguarding of children during those championships are very, very important as well. But a tremendous tournament for the youth team. Obviously we're going to be speaking with Fufu Fares and Jordan Scully, who picked up gold medals as well. What I will do is I'll run through super quickly all of the medalists here, so bear with me. I think they all deserve a mention. We can't go into great detail with everyone, but from the Irish youths team, Cadilia Gilhooly picked up a gold medal along with Caden Dalton and Olivia Barberes, all gold medalists, along with Roman Verhoeven. I know he's a savage young prospect coming through the ranks. We got a bronze medal for Andreas O'Riordan. Cameron Geraghty picked up a gold medal. A silver medal for Luke Fitzpatrick, for Constantine Tabakaru, and for Kyle Heary. He picked up a bronze medal in the Youth Championships. Also in the Youth Championships, we had a silver medal for Sam Lynch, for Alex Flanagan. He picked up a bronze medal along with Paul Phillips, who picked up another bronze medal in the youth ranks. Big team, lots of success here in the youth ranks. Silver medal for Alex Harris, bronze medal for Myriakis Michaelidis. Katie Power picked up a bronze medal in the Youth Championships as well. Rocco Aurelica picked up a bronze medal along with Attilio Flynn, who picked up a silver medal. Charlie Connolly picked up a bronze medal. My goodness, I'm almost out of breath with all of these winners. Benias Whelan picked up a bronze medal. Callum Leach picked up a gold medal. And Jack Brown picked up a bronze medal along with Sean Bishop, who picked up another bronze medal in his division. And Conor Kelly picked up a gold medal. And that left Ireland with 7 golds, 5 silvers, and 11 bronze. Second on the table in the youths rankings, Andy, and a phenomenal showing by Team Ireland. And I mean, the future is bright with all those medalists as well. I mean, I missed that. Could you tell me all those again?
Come here, Alex Harris, younger brother of Ger Harris. He was actually there. I met him at the show in the RDS, and I was like, oh, you know, did you enjoy the IMMAFs? And he's like, I got robbed. He's like, I was robbed. So I love to see the competitive spirit there already. Brilliant stuff. Obviously, Danny from Danny's home gym in Relentless, three of the girls picked up gold medals there in the youth division. We had a Tarico Plata from Callum Leach. Where is Paul Brown at to call that one properly? And we picked up a 2 junior gold medalists as well on the rankings. Keelan McCartan won a second European medal in a second weight division as well. Unlucky in the final, but he looked really good in doing that overall. And of course, we got our gold medalists as well, Jordan Scully and Fufu Farah. So I think what we'll do is we'll probably do back-to-back interviews now. We're going to touch base with Jordan Scully and talk about his win, his time at the tournament. We'll take a little bit of a segue into Fufu Farah's that will lead us into our next 2 interviews before we round up the podcast for this week. So let's head on over to Jordan Scully and hear what he's had to say about his experience at the IMMAF European Championships. And now we're joined by IMMAF gold medal winner Jordan Scully. Jordan, how are you today? You were watching UFC 300 this morning.
The minute I got up out of bed, I couldn't stay up last night, lads. I was fairly tired, so the minute I got up, I had the missus beside me, and she was literally saying, like, what are you at this early? I was like, I'm watching UFC 300. What do you expect?
What was your favourite fight of the night?
To be honest, I said a Sarukian fight, just the exchanges and grappling. That, you know, my fighting style as well, I like to grapple as well, but look, I'd say that fight, definitely.
Yeah.
Are you looking at someone like Saryukin with, his level of grappling? Like, it is really next level, especially the way he was able to kind of control Oliveira on the ground there. And, there's no one as dangerous off his back than Charles Oliveira, but it was a really good performance overall. Maybe not the most fan-friendly, but not easy to go in there and do what he did. Like,
lads, people can say that's not fan-friendly or whatever. Right? That style will win fights and will give you the least amount of damage possible. And to be honest, I think that's the best way to fight for anyone. But look, maybe some people don't like that style. That's fair enough. But I'm sure there's plenty of people that also love that style. So, it goes both ways.
Once you're winning, you're winning. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
That's what it's all about, lads.
Yeah, and look, speaking of styles, your style clearly was very successful over in Serbia, picking up the gold medal. What was the experience like for you, and what was the reaction like to winning gold over there?
Oh, look, lads, it was honestly surreal, and had a lot of nerves, a bit of anxiety, going into it. Because, it's not easy fighting like 3-4 days in a row. I was actually kind of lucky I got a bye. Don't get me wrong, I wanted to fight the 4 days in a row, but I'll take a bye as well. But the lad actually ended up missing weight, so it kind of gave me a bit more time to, relax, chill out, and then I ended up fighting 2 Ukrainians and a German lad. We all know how they went. So, yeah, no, I'd honestly say it was a surreal moment and the best week of my life. And when I won that gold, definitely the best day of my life.
Yeah. Obviously, that was the fight against the from Team Israel, was it? That it ended up not coming through.
Yeah,
he missed weight. So how long were you over there for, and what was the experience like? I guess in Serbia itself, and because obviously you're going in there and you're fighting, but I'm sure it was a pretty cool week or so, or however long you were there.
Oh, of course, lads. Getting to meet new people, make new friends. Like I made plenty of new friends, and honestly, I'd say it was a life-changing experience as well. Getting to see the world. Like, I've been to Bulgaria, Abu Dhabi, Italy, and if it wasn't for the sport of MMA, I wouldn't have been able to visit countries like that. So I'd honestly say, like, it's just great to explore the world and that, see new places and meet new people.
Yeah, punch a few heads in when you're at it as well.
Look, take it as it comes, lads.
100%.
Your first fight that did happen in the tournament was against Vladislav Juvenko. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. So an armbar win. Were you happy with that one?
Look, lads, the first time I did, I got caught with that flying armbar against Max, so I had to kind of get one back, And
this is redemption.
Like, look, I'd never go for that in a fight, but I was just kind of like, you know what, Jordan, just go for it. What's the worst that can happen? Like, I'll never do that again. But just in that moment, I was like, I know I can get this, and I just went for it. And I know it was a bit delayed, but eventually I got the finish, and I was very happy with it.
100%. And then the semi-finals against Ilan Nikolenko, a split decision one. What were you thinking? As they were reading out the judge's decision there, did you agree?
Did you think it was close? In my head, like, I was like, right, you have the first 2 rounds. Maybe I shouldn't have given the 3rd round so easily, but look, it's all experience. I learned from it, and but I won't lie, in that moment I was thinking, I was like, oh no, are they actually going to give it to him? Because I had a bad feeling. I was like, oh please, no, everything I worked for, Lee. And then when it was a split decision, I was just like, whew, thank God.
Yeah, I mean, like that's a really good win. Like, we were chatting, Caoilte is unfortunately not here with us today, but he was saying that this guy is one of the best fighters that Ukraine have. So to come through a guy like that, a competitor like that, that's a big win en route to gold.
Look, I did my research on him as well. I knew this guy was no joke. I wasn't underestimating him one bit. I knew I had a tough challenge ahead of me, but like I said in the previous interview I did before when I was fighting Sam Simon, if anyone can do it, I can do it. So look, I don't back down from a challenge. I'll fight anyone, and I just want to fight the best lads possible, lads. And I think that's the best way to go. An amateur, like I said before, win, lose, draw, it doesn't matter. Just rack up the experience and put yourself out there.
Going into the final, obviously, you've just fought a number of times in the space of a few days. What's the body like ahead of a final? And what's the difference between you kind of at the start of the week and you when you've already had 2 fights and you have to go in and fight another lad for a gold medal?
I won't lie to you, lads. I was actually more broke up going into the first fight than I was the last, because I kind of arrived a bit late to the venue.
That's a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah, it got better as the tournament went on.
I seen Fufu now. Shout out to him, in fairness. He did phenomenal. But I was watching his fight and I was like, go on, Fufu, like, you'll do this. And then Marlene comes to me and she's like, Jordan, you're up in like 2 fights. I was like, well, I'm not up till 12. She's like, no, you're going to be up soon. So I had to do a bit of a warm up the neck, a good old Sergei Pakulski warm up, so I had to kind of get the body flowing, the blood pumping, and I was a bit kind of cold going into the first round, and then once I got into the second, I was kind of good to go. But look, that's another thing I learned from as well: never arrive too late. Always be like there on time.
Obviously, you got just a tap on the shoulder there, and you had to go and like what? Probably, from when did you think you were fighting to when you found out you were fighting? How long did you have to wait until you got into the cage? Like,
I arrived there, I'd say probably around 5 to 11, and then I seen a bit of Fufu's fight. Not all of it now. I had to go warm up fairly quick, but then they wrapped up my hands. Not wrapped my hands. They just taped my gloves, taped my shin pads, and I was up in basically like 15 minutes like after I arrived. Sorry, not 15, 40 minutes. So I was kind of in a rush to get warm up and get everything done.
100%.
In the end, you got the decision win, a unanimous decision win in the final over Alton Zanouni. What were the emotions like when they raised your hand and you knew that you'd won the Europeans?
It's kind of a shock to start, because I was like, I don't know, like, do you ever see that Brandon Moreno fight when he beat Figueiredo and he just didn't really know what was going on, and then it kind of hit him. That's what I kind of felt like happened to me when I shook his hand after. I just realised, like, Jordan, you finally did it. And like, you know, lads, I've been to 3 previous IMMAFs before that. I've come up short so many times. You know, that would definitely drain any man's confidence. Like, there was even points where I was thinking, will I ever win an IMMAF gold? Because that's always one thing on my bucket list as well. Obviously, look, I want to win the World Championships as well. That's my next goal, and I'll work super, super hard for that. But no, look, it was just, like I said at the start, a surreal moment, and once it hit me, I started crying my eyes out. You know, it's just because I'd been through so much in the last year with just a lot of things that happened in my personal life and that, and look, it was a great moment and a great feeling, and it's definitely something I'll never forget.
Absolutely, it's like something to be really proud of. And you mentioned there about, you know, kind of going through a tough time. Obviously, the last time you'd been at a European Championship was 2022, and that was kind of the start of a bit of a losing streak on the amateur. You know, where you came up short in a few fights. Was that a tough period in your life, I guess, and in your career, kind of between 2022 and 2023?
Look, lads, like, I'm gonna lie to you, it's just a lot of things that happened in between. Like, you know, I lost to Serbian lad in 35 seconds. That wasn't easy. And then I dislocated my shoulder against Ches Paulo. And look, like I said, no excuses. He beat me fair and square, and I will give him that. Because I had a lot of people saying, oh, no, it wasn't a fair fight. But it was a fair fight. He got me. Fucking fair play to him. But then obviously I was out for a year. I had the shoulder injury, but that actually healed in the space of 3 months. But a few other things happened to me in my personal life, and that'll be told. Look, maybe another time, I don't know. But look, just a lot of things happened. Then I ended up coming back in December. I lost to Malik. Like, fair play to him. He got the win. It was a great performance. But look, I said to myself, even just going into this year, I just had a feeling, I was like, this is going to be your year, Jordan. And look, it's only the start of the year, lads. Like, there's plenty more to come. Like I said in that thing I put up on my story, that little video, it's a good start to the year, but I'm not going to let it get to my head, and I'm going to keep working forward and get better, you know?
That's the thing, isn't it, Jordan? I mean, you can't let the good times get into your head too much, and you can't let the bad times get into your head just much.
Of course, lads, you have to. As I say, you have to stay grounded no matter what. And I learned this as well. Never let a win get to your head and a loss get to your heart. And I've been on the receiving end of success and a bit of a downfall as well, you know?
100%. It's a very good mentality to have, Jordan. You know, during that period of time and through some difficult times that we all go through, you know, sometimes change is what we need. And you decided to kind of make a jump over to SBG Naas in recent times as well. Talk to me a little bit about making that decision to move over there and what you've gained from it as well.
Look, lads, the reason for just a lot of things happen. I'm not going to get into it or that.
You talk about whatever you want to talk about, Jordan.
It was just due to health and safety reasons why I decided to make the move. And to be honest, look, it's definitely the best decision I've ever made. My game has come leaps and bounds since joining there. Like, I'm training with killers on a daily basis, you know, like Alex Keogh, Conor McCarthy, Dowie Harrison, Paul Fitzgerald, Nikolai Shiopu. There's a lot of other lads I'm probably not naming there, but look, my point is, lads, sometimes you have to do what's best for you, you know, and that's just like how life is. You have to do what's best for you sometimes.
The style that you have is kind of complemented by, you know, going in there with a guy like Sergey. Obviously, he's very skilled and has lots of knowledge in terms of wrestling and grappling, and especially mixed martial arts grappling as well. Have you feel that, you know, creating that partnership, plus with all the guys that you mentioned there as well in SBG Naas, that kind of set you up for what you achieved in the Europeans as well? Going in with a guy like Sergey, you know, he's going to complement your style and what you do. You like to grind on guys, you like to pressure with your grappling, and you know, like kind of overbear your opponents in some regards. And I'm sure, you know, Sergey can give you some tips here and there to kind of progress your skill set the way you want it to be progressed.
And look, lads, like I said, like I have high-level coaches as well. Like Sergey, he's definitely a big reason why I'm on this IMMAFs. My wrestling games come on leaps and bounds since, like, you know, going there full-time. I have great striking coaches. I have Owen McDonald as well. He's phenomenal. And King Conlon as well, a good high-level jiu-jitsu black belt. And who else am I missing there, actually?
Peter. Better not forget anybody now. That's the problem when you start naming people, Jordan, eh?
No, but look, even Peter as well, lads, like, he's kind of took me under his wing in the sense of, like, he's just taught me little things. He's brought my game leaps and bounds. My fight IQ is better. I know how to preserve my energy as well. I know how to come back when, you know, times get tough and that. And, like, I showcased that in the Sam Simon fight I had as well. And look, it's just, like I said, train with high-level lads on a daily basis is obviously going to bring you to another level, you know.
You mentioned it there, the Sam Simon win. Obviously, that was your first win under the SBG Nace banner. You had to come through the fire in that one. Simon, that second round, he was unleashing fury on you, but you survived, you endured, and you overcame, and ultimately you got the rear naked choke in the third round. And I was there, and you let out an almighty roar in the cage afterwards. Was that relief, you know, having gone through that period of a few difficult fights? Was that relief that was kind of coming out of you in that kind of primal scream in the cage?
It was a lot of emotions and things coming out of me. Look, you know, I'm always a bit mad when I win, but, like, that was truly just a bit of relief. Like, you know, just getting that win and that. And, you know, I said this before, I can't thank Sam enough for fucking giving me that beating in the second round. I know that might sound crazy to a lot of people, but that really did make me better as a fighter. And I said that to him after. I was like, I can't thank you enough for that. I'm after reaching a whole new level just from going through that. And you know how good Sam is as well, lads. Like, he was won a few belts since he's come back. And I even said this about him. His story is really inspirational. Like, came back after 8 years with injuries and stuff. And look at him now. He's still chasing the dream. And, you know, I have to give respect to him. So, look, big shout out to Sam Simon.
100%. You know, moving forward, Jordan, you've a good few fights now under your belt at amateur. How long do you see yourself at amateur, and do you foresee yourself moving to the professional ranks at some point? Is that something that you even want?
Oh, lads, 100%. Like, look, I'm in no rush. I'm only 20 years of age, lads, and I don't know when pro is. I'll know when I'm ready. Peter will know when I'm ready. But look, I'm just taking it as it comes, and I'm not really thinking about pro now. Like, I know I've plenty of fights this year, and look, I'm going to stay active as an amateur for as long as possible, get the experience in, make the mistakes, you know, get the rounds in. And look, like I said, I'll know when I'm ready, and my coaches will know when I'm ready.
100%. Have you a nickname yet, Jordan?
No.
What have there been any bandied around the gym yet, or any?
No one's actually said anything to me. I know Connor didn't have one for a long time, but now he's known as the hot step.
We can take the credit for that now. We kind of, you know, he kind of came out and told us that he was called the hot stepper now. So if there's any ideas there now, we can maybe
Peter will have one for you. You know, a little bit more time in SBG Nace. I've a feeling Peter Caoilte will come up with one for you.
Look, lads, like I'm not even in that gym 10 months, and look at how much success I've had with them already. I've won a belt, a European Championship, and look, imagine what it's going to be like in the next few months. You know, there's a lot of great things coming my way, and look, like I said, I'm going to stay grounded, I'm going to train hard, and you know, just take fights as they come and stay active, and even compete in some grappling, and maybe, you never know, some striking fights eventually, even a few wrestling competitions. You know me, lads, I just like to stay active, put myself out there, and win, lose or draw, it doesn't matter. Just get the experience in, and that's what amateur's all about.
Before 100%. We wrap up, Jordan, is there anybody out there that you would like to kind of challenge yourself against on the regional scene?
I won't lie to you, I'm not one for calling out people, lads, but all I'd say is, look, if anyone wants to fight me or that, just get onto a promotion. I'll fight anyone. Nothing but respect for anyone I fight out there. This sport is about respect, honour, dignity, and training hard. But look, I'll fight anyone. I'll always say that, not out with disrespect or anything. I just want to get the experience in. But look, I'm sure I'll get plenty of fights this year, and I'm sure there's plenty of lads eager to fight me after the Europeans. So look, I'll take it as it comes, and I'm looking forward to whatever challenge comes my way.
Well, look, Jordan, that's a great message, I think, to leave it on there. I see a smile on your face as you talk about competing. I'm looking forward to watching you get back in there, and I know Ian is too. Thanks a million for joining us today, and best of luck with whatever's next, and congratulations again on the IMMAFs there.
I know, thank you very much, lads, and look, hopefully there's plenty more of these podcasts to come in the coming year, you know, so look, we'll stay active, and we'll get plenty more of these in as well.
That's it. All you have to do is just walk out to the L triangle, and we'll get you on the next.
That's it. Guaranteed. That's a guaranteed.
It's a fast track. Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. That's a promise. That's a promise.
Love it.
You may remind me, lads.
No problem whatsoever. Thanks a million for the time, Jordan. It's been great to get to chat to you, man.
Lads. Have a good day, and I look forward to seeing you at the next event.
Take care.
Thanks, Jordan.
All right, we can keep the ball rolling there. Great to hear from Jordan there. Give us a great interview, a good experience, and congratulations to him. Not going to waste any time. We're going to go straight in. We're going to hear what FlobaterFares had to say about him winning his gold medal in the European Championships. Right over to that interview right now.
And now we are joined by the IMMAF European gold medalist, FlobaterFares. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, look, congratulations. It's been a great couple of weeks for you there. What was your reaction, I suppose, to winning gold over at the IMMAFs?
To be honest, I'm still till this point. It's like a dream come true, because like an IMMAF gold medal is something special. So winning it was so great.
I saw that you put up a post that you said young Fufu would be so proud. Why did you post that, and what did you mean by that?
So I started this when I was 12 years old. I'm 20 years old now, so I've been doing this game for 8 years. This gold medal is of 8 years of hard work. It's not a training camp of 6 to 8 weeks I've done. This is 8 weeks of hard training that won me this medal.
And look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Our good pal Caoilte is not here today, and he is our Irish amateur guru. So I'm going to get you to walk us through the tournament. What was the tournament like? Yeah, was it 4 fights, I believe, you had on route to gold?
Yeah, 4 fights, yeah.
What was the experience like for you?
To be honest, I love IMMAF tournaments. You know, like, you don't know who you're fighting before the day and stuff like that. I think it mainly you focus on yourself. It's such an improvement on me. Like, I improved just my training camp. Finding out that the day before you're fighting, all right, you're fighting like this guy. You just do your quick little research, and you're just you're working on yourself, and it worked out for me.
And were you happy overall with the various performances? What was your favorite fight, I suppose, over there?
To be honest, I'd say my favorite fight was my second fight. It was against Team Georgia. It was like a kind of a striking brawl. I wouldn't say it was my hardest fight though. I think my hardest fight was the semi-finals. It was Team Ukraine. Yeah, that guy, he came up. He was challenging for it, but I came victorious.
You like entertaining in your fights, Fufu. Any fights that we do see, you have a bubbly personality. You like to go out there and have fun. Where did that kind of mindset and approach towards fighting come from you?
To be honest, the way I think of it, regardless, like whatever fight I go into, in my head, I've trained so hard going into camp, doing this and that. Like, this 9 minutes of me fighting, I want to enjoy it. Like, I'm not like putting pressure on myself here, regardless of the outcome. Like, I'm still an amateur fighter, so obviously, like, it's good to always win and like have a streak and stuff. But like, I'm learning right now. I've had outcomes that I've never in my life would have thought of in my record. I just take it on, and it is what it is. But going into fights, whatever happens, it's just have fun and just enjoy the moment.
100%. At the age of 12, that's when you said you decided to step into mixed martial arts. What was kind of your inspiration to start? Were you always a fan of combat sports? Was it watching a particular fighter, or was that something that you always wanted to do as a young man?
To be honest, I actually probably would. Like, when I was a kid, I was really shy. I wouldn't even like speak to anyone. I actually started MMA over my older brother, Anthony Faris. I wouldn't have done MMA otherwise. I was probably too afraid to go into the gym. He walked me in there. I was in SPG Cork since then, and haven't left. And I'm grateful for the journey and what's to come.
Is it nice to be able to kind of somewhat follow in the footsteps of your brother there? And, walking into a gym, it's very intimidating. You know, I've been there myself, but it must have been nice to kind of follow him in, and obviously under the guidance of Lee Moog down there as well. You know, a great lad that we've spoken to ourselves on the Auld Triangle, and with Palahan kind of forging his path through the professional ranks. You got a good stable of guys, and I'm sure that they kind of nurtured you and they guided you into the position where you are right now, obviously, to kind of win that European gold.
Exactly, yeah. I think like I'm kind of getting like all the credit for me winning, but believe it or not, like I've a solid team in SPG Cork that are like training the rounds that I'm doing. Like I'm getting prepared for the fight, but like it's my whole team that's doing it. Regarding SPG Cork, like my family, my supporters, I think like people think of MMA as like, okay, it's just one guy going into fight and like I'm the guy that's getting the credit. But believe it or not, like I have a full team behind me here and we're all getting it. Like this gold medal, the European gold medal, was like we won this. It wasn't just that I won it. Like in my eyes, that's the way I'm thinking.
100%. Yeah, Andy, go ahead.
One of the things I thought was very cool that I noticed is that, am I right in saying that you actually have a scholarship to college through MMA? How did that come about, and where are you studying, and tell us a little bit about that?
So I'm currently in MTU, Munster Technological University in Cork. I'm a second year business student. When I was in first year, they give scholarships to like multiple sports. I was like, why? I haven't heard of someone getting an MMA scholarship to college. I said I'd try my luck. I went through it. There was like a good few processes, interviews and stuff, and they found that I was the right fit for it, and they gave me it. It's something I'm still grateful for. I think getting a scholarship to a university for something I love doing. It's mind blowing. It's like another dream come true. Like this European gold medal, a scholarship, all these things that I'm coming for, I'm really grateful for.
And is that like, how does that work? Do they like give you like a stipend of money to kind of keep to support you? Because like obviously a lot of fighters, you know, some go down the education route, others will work, and others kind of just, you know, they train full time and rely on sponsors, etc. So like, has this been kind of financially helpful for you to continue pursuing your training, etc.? Obviously, while studying too.
Definitely, yeah. It's really, it helps me out big time. I'm grateful for it. It's something I'll always be thankful for.
Is it something that like any other fighters out there are interested in going down the same path as you? Like, how did it all come about, or how did it originate? Because you don't really see too many scholarships for mixed martial arts in Ireland, or I don't know if I've heard of one anywhere, to be honest. Obviously, you'll have the college NCAA divisions and stuff like that, but none directly through mixed martial arts. So, how did it kind of kick off, or how would one kind of get a scholarship to go through mixed martial arts?
Regarding the college I'm in at the moment, it was just applying for it. It was that easy, just literally applying for it and going for it and just showing that you have achievements and you've done stuff in it, and like it's literally just showing yourself, and if they're pleased with it, which they were at the time, they just got it, and it was just literally just applying for it. That was it. I'm pretty sure like other colleges definitely do something similar. I just don't think like a lot of MMA fighters actually like went for it and tried to get it. That's something I've done, and I was pleased I got it.
Is it important for you to kind of obtain that level of education as well and have something in your back pocket along with the mixed martial arts?
Yeah, for sure. So at the moment, like I love MMA. I live for this shit. But at the same time, I could walk down the street and break my leg, and I'm blessing myself that doesn't happen, but that could happen. Me having a degree is just something on the side. It's my plan B.
100%. It's a very, very smart way of thinking. If we were to go back to the European Championships, the final against Evelyn Maneve, a split decision, did you agree with that? And what was the thoughts going through your head when that decision was being read out?
To be honest, I thought I won all 3 rounds. Something I've actually looked back through all 4 fights that I've had, and something I kind of noticed, I was kind of playing it a little bit safe for some of my fights, like thinking, all right, I've got this. I've got this win. Not really pushing the pace, because in my eyes, I was like, oh, I have another fight the next day and stuff. But looking back at the fights I've had, I thought I could definitely do better in each of them fights. regarding the finals, yeah, I was kind of surprised when it went to a split. I thought I won all 3 rounds, but it's literally, you just can't leave it to the judge's eyes.
100%. Well, I'm glad that you did get the nod. I thought it definitely shouldn't have been a split decision as well. When the announcement is made, Fufu, your arm gets raised above your head and you're announced as the European gold medalist. What's the thoughts that are going through your head? What's the level of emotions that you're experiencing in that moment?
I don't think I'll ever feel like this is probably the biggest achievement I've ever done, and the one thing I will actually never forget, other than when my hand got raised, I was like, holy shit, I've actually done this. Like, this is a dream come true. But a moment I'll never forget in my whole life is when I actually walked out of the cage and I had the gold medal around my neck, and I seen my head coach Liam. I looked at him, he gave me a hug, and it was like a really tight hug, and it was like he was proud of me in that moment. And it was a moment I'll never forget in my whole life. And similar happened to it with my brother afterwards. But it's them small moments that count for me, I think.
Absolutely. It's the years of sacrifice. It's the years of time you put into the gym. And, you know, when you get moments like that and you get the rewards that you deserve in terms of getting that gold medal, that's what everybody is doing for. And it must, you said how proud you are to bring it home to the gym and friends and family as well. You know, it must be great to be able to kind of bring home the gold medal and show that, look, there is something that comes from this hard work. Because, look, you followed a path that not many young men choose to follow. Fufu, you're sacrificing, like you said, since the age of 12. You're sacrificing your teenage years, you're sacrificing your adolescence. That's what it is. And it must mean so much to you to be able to accumulate all that hard work, bring home that gold medal to your coaches and your family and your friends as well.
Yeah, exactly. Coming back with the gold medal, the biggest thing was, I think it was when I was 16 years old, I went to an IMMAF, the World Championships. It was youths at the time, and then I had a goal of I'm gonna bring that gold medal and I'm gonna put it around my mom's neck. Unfortunately, then it didn't happen. But coming back this time, I was like, it took me 4 years to do this. And I gave it to my mom. I was like, we've done it. But yeah, it's just life changing. But I'm happy I've won the Euros and stuff. But I'm not over looking, I'm still humbled, and I still have so much other stuff to be doing. I'm looking at what's next now.
100%. Sorry, Andy, go ahead.
You've had a lot of, I feel you've had a lot of tough tests in your career already. You're still only young, but you've so many amateur fights. And when I look through your record, fighting from early years, guys like Elvis Luco, Byron Murphy, George Grosjean, one of the Stanka brothers, Jake Nye recently, these are all tough tests. And I think back, I was actually there in a cage side for when you fought George Grosjean, who's a killer in his own right and has gone on to the pro scene now, looks really, really good. But you were having brilliant success early in that fight. Obviously, you lost the decision in the end. But, I feel like with you in the amateur run, there's been some moments where, there's fights that you could have won and then maybe they slipped away. So I'm sure it was extra satisfying to finally kind of be like, right, this isn't another one of those fights or those tournaments where I'm starting on the strong foot, but then ultimately something goes wrong. I'm sure that was extra satisfying to finish it through.
Exactly, you said it yourself. I think going through my amateur fights, there's been fights that I could have, if I just done something smarter or something similar, I could have won. But to be honest, I'm grateful for them moments, because I think a goal I have is each amateur fight is just to get better a certain bit. And I think since my amateur debut, I've been getting better and better. And once I'm just seeing something that I'm getting better, I'm happy with it, and I'm just going to continue forward.
One thing that I thoroughly enjoyed when I was watching, especially when you were putting up more of the clips of them, was the entertaining, the crowd-pleasing nature of one of your performances there at the Euros. You're a massive Max Holloway fan. I noticed that you walked out to one of the previous tournaments with a blessed headband. You commented on your stuff, and you channeled your inner Max Holloway against Ricardo Lamas, and not just Ricardo Lamas, because last night he's after doing it again against Justin Gaethje. But you put on this kind of crowd-pleasing performance where you're putting to the cage. Do you take huge inspiration from Max, and are you thinking about putting on a show for the fans when you're fighting also?
Exactly. Max is, to be honest, I don't have like I don't look up to a lot of people. I don't look up to much people, to be honest, but Max Holloway is a man. I like that guy's like a hero for me. Like when he commented on my post, I was going mad. I was like, holy shit. I was up last night watching his fight, and when he got that knock in the last second, I was screaming, waking up my parents at night time and stuff. But regarding the entertaining type of fights that I do, I think, yeah, for sure. Like, I think there's so much amateur fighters, and you need to stand out. Like, it can't be just like you can win fights, you can be good, but for like the professional scenes and like promoters and stuff looking at you, they want someone that's like that, like you, not just winning. They want like an entertainer, and I think I bring that side of it too. Something I just love doing too. It's not like I'm putting it on. I just actually enjoy it.
That's obviously something that's on your mind then. Would you like to go pro at some point in your career?
Definitely, for sure. So I think I probably will go pro after I'm done college. I've an option of a year or 2 years to go. One goal I have, so an amateur, is to have over 30 fights. I know Alex O'Sullivan has 30, so I'm looking for 31, 32. Gotta make some history there. So definitely that's what I want to do in the amateur scene. It's just get as much experience as I can. I'm already looking for another fight, and I've had a couple of fights offered to me that are huge, and it's kind of just looking at what I've up next.
What's your hopes and dreams for your professional career when you do eventually kind of make the jump over, Fufu?
To be honest, I think one thing, obviously, UFC is the goal. But the way I look at it is more the journey of getting to the UFC is it. Like, I think when you're in the UFC, it's unbelievable. You're at, like, I'll be like whatever age I am then. But it's the moments I've lost my fights and I'm so pissed off, and then all these like small minor stuff that happen, and then I improve from it and I do better. I think that like the journey is just the better part of it. Like, just enjoying the journey. That's literally it. Like, this Europeans is part of my journey right now.
Very well said. What you said, the path to the UFC. What's the perfect path to the UFC for you?
I think the perfect path for me is finish my amateur career. After that, go. To be honest, I haven't really even looked at the pro side of it, like what organization I'd go for and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think one thing I definitely, like, once I go pro, I haven't even thought of it, but when I go
to the races,
I can't wait for it, because it'll be so exciting throwing them elbows and knees to the head, like.
Fufu, I really, really appreciate the time today. My last question is there anyone, before it's all said and done, an amateur, is there anyone else on the Irish scene that you have your eye on for a fight with? Or maybe if it's not a fighter, is there anything else you want to achieve still as an amateur?
To be honest, I've actually, in the space of a week of me coming back from the Euros, I've got offered 3 fights. One of the fights is Jake Nye in July. Probably just announced that there. Declan's probably going to be like, what happened there? But yeah, so I accepted that in Jake. Another fight that I actually got offered yesterday, and it is huge, but I had to actually say no to it. It's because I've college exams. Well, yesterday I got offered to fight in France in a football stadium against the current IMMAF world champion, because I'm the Euro champion. He's the world champion. That was May 17th. The show's AEF or something like that, along them lines. I got offered that, but unfortunately I literally have college exams then, and I just can't accept it. It's annoying to have that side of it, but like another time will come. I've got offered a fight in Premier, that an opponent I got, but the opponent, he's after a losing, like, he lost the fight, and I just wasn't too, like, he lost the fight. I'm after Euros. I don't think it's the perfect fight. One fight I actually am looking forward to having, and I'm in talks to. There's a show in Sweden. It's called FCR. So I'm the junior European champion. The senior European champion is from Sweden. June 1st is FCR. I've contacted the promotion and the promoter, and I'm currently trying to get that. So junior versus junior and senior European champions collide. We see who gets that.
Love it, definitely. There are plenty of options ahead of you anyway. Fufu, fair play to you, man. You're getting in there, matchmaking yourself and everything. So kudos to you, my man.
Thank you.
Well, look, Fufu, appreciate the time, and congratulations again on the win and on the gold medal. And look, I'm sure we'll be chatting to you again soon. Looking forward to seeing what's next for you in your amateur run.
Perfect. Thank you for having me on.
Alrighty, lots of news and kind of stuff to get through, Andy. We'll try and do this as quickly as we can, brushing through some of the previous action. I want to give a shout out to Craig McGrattan, who went over there to the MMA Gala in Denmark and picked up a very good win over Sherwin Caoilte via second round TKO. Really good performance. I mean, you know, I spoke briefly with Chris, very happy with Craig going over there. Not a lot of people in his position will go over and take his difficult fight. You know, I think what we have to realize in these kind of fights, Andy, is that guys like Craig McGrattan are being brought over to these kind of shows, maybe with the not expectation that they're going to win. They're kind of wanting to probably big up Caoilte over there, but no, not today. Craig McGrattan said he went out there, was a great, he took a couple of big shots, you know, spinning heel kick from Caoilte, brushed off him in the first round, but, you know, remained cool, calm and composed in round one. Took his advice in well in round two, came out there. What I was impressed with was the no-nonsense approach. I think Craig had some success at the end of round one, Andy, with the takedown and dominated the end of round one. He came out in round two. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Close the distance, get the fight down, and absolutely hammered Caoilte with some ground and pound to get the TKO win in round two. I mean, Team KF, early professionals, they don't take easy fights, and I know Chris Fields and the rest of the team pride themselves on that as well. You know, the team of the podcast seems to be character building, but it definitely was a character building performance and an excellent performance from Craig McGrattan, who's already matched up. We'll talk about his next fight next, but we'll talk about this one first. I'm sure you were just as impressed as what I was, Andy.
Yeah, when you come out of a win with, you know, with kind of a very dominant, decisive victory, but you've also had to come through the fire a bit where, you know, his opponent was swinging wild at times, but he was connecting at other times too. And he put him on skates for a second there in the first, but to be able to come back from that, you know, impose your will, impose your game plan. And I thought a very smart tactical move in the second. You know, he kind of boxed him up a little bit and then immediately went for the takedown, got him down. And from there, it was really all she wrote. He dominated. He landed some heavy shots and ultimately got the finishing. And yeah, very, very impressive pro debut for Craig McGrattan, who's already taken on some tough tests in the likes of Lewis Byrne, Rory Burke, Armin Herzog, Tiernan Loughran, all in, you know, in his amateur run. So he looks primed and ready to make a run at the pros now.
Absolutely, yeah, and look at, he's dusted himself off. He's heading over to Budo Fighting Championships in a couple of weeks. He's going to take on Lloyd Sweeney over there, so already matched up. He's getting off to a very quick start in his professional career, and looking forward to seeing his progression as well. Other night fight news: Dee Begley has been announced for the PFL Europe Flyweight Tournament, going in there with a stable of flyweights to compete for that 100,000 prize. I like this fit for her. She's in a competition with some good women fighting in there as well. Obviously, Chanel Dyer and a couple of others competing in that tournament. I think
a teammate.
Teammate Valentina. That could lead to an interesting matchup as well. But no, good to see Dee getting signed up at PFL Europe. I think it's a good spot for her right now, and you know, not easy to get matchups like we said with Emer Darcy and stuff like that. So she's going to have plentiful of matchups at PFL Europe, and excited to see that run there as well. I'm sure you're excited to see that as well, Andy. I think it's a good spot for her, isn't it?
Yeah, great to get the opportunity. Look, she's on a bit of a slump at the moment in her career, so it's just all about kind of going in there and performing and getting the win now. It will be interesting to see if she comes across Valentina, because I don't know how they'll work that as far as having two teammates on in the same bracket. But yeah, look, Chanel Dyer is obviously kind of the standout performer at the moment in that bracket, so she'll be very, very tough to beat. But yeah, great to see them get the opportunity.
Big time. Great to see Nathan Kelly getting back in there. I know we mentioned it previously. We were talking about Cage Warriors earlier on, Andy. I mean, he's coming in with a big test that we all wanted to hear, and he's not wasting any time. Coming back for the Dublin card in June. Fabakary Diatta is a tough challenge for him, but that's what we've been looking for, and that's what he wants as well. He said he tweeted out there yesterday that he barely had time to wash himself after the last fight, and he's getting in there. And I mean, we have been critical, and I was even talking about with Paul Hughes about, getting these guys matched up and fighting on these cards, and we have to give credit where credit is due. Bellator have come in here, they've got Nathan matched up again, and it makes sense to have him here on the Dublin card, and this is going to be up there with one of the biggest tests of his career so far, I think.
Yeah, look, we've complained about matchmaking, and now this is a sensible next step where you've got a guy who's fought, I think, 4 times under the Bellator banner. He's beaten the likes of Don Mudding, he's beaten Keir Harvey in his last fight. His only loss is a split decision to Jordan Barton. So this is a solid next step, because what we didn't want, even though we were screaming for, where is the progression, you don't want Nathan Kelly just thrown in against like a fucking Brendan Loughnane or someone, in their next fight when they haven't been fighting that level of competition yet. So a gradual next step, and this is positive. This is really, really positive stuff from PFL.
Absolutely. A little bit more close quarters next weekend coming, Andy. We have a busy weekend for Irish mixed martial arts as well. Starting on Friday the 19th of April, we have Pedro Carvalho versus Brendan Loughnane. That's this Friday coming at PFL 3 in Chicago. A fight that's really come in under the radar, and this is a great fight. I'm delighted to see Pedro installed into this tournament. I think it's the right fit for him, and by goodness, this is some fight to crack off his PFL debut, isn't it?
It really, and you're right, it's snuck up on us, because I only realised, and then I behind the curtain, I've reached out to Pedro, and then it couldn't make it work. It was too short notice, because I forgot that it was coming next weekend, basically. But what a fight. Pedro Carvalho just gets thrown in the deep end every single time at Bellator PFL. He deserves so much respect, former title challenger, and could be catching Brendan Loughnane at the right time here. He didn't have the same success that he did in the 2022 season, last season out, but this is a really, really tough test, a fan-friendly one where I think these two guys they're going to knock lumps out of each other.
It's a real good clash.
I'd be very surprised if this one doesn't end in a knockout.
Indeed, because they'll be chasing for the early finish, obviously, to get more points. That is a part of the regular season in the featherweight tournament there. So obviously the onus lies on early finishes there to get more points. And I mean, what a mouth-watering affair that we have there, and I'm really looking forward. And I could not agree more what you said about Pedro Carvalho, a guy that never takes the easy road. You talk about an old dog for the hard pat, or an old dog for the hard road and a pup for the pat. And Pedro is that old dog.
He's the opposite. He's the... Anytime we complain about a Bellator or PFL match or anything like that, they're like, well, hang on, sorry, have you seen this guy called Pedro Carvalho here? Do you want to have a look at his opponents there, maybe?
He's still so young in his career too, with such experience.
He's only 27 or something.
And look at he's bounced back from defeat before, and he's in a great setting to kind of right those wrongs this time. I'm really excited. I'm going to be tuning in and watching the shit out of that fight. We also, on the very next day, Andy, got a bunch of Irish guys in action. On Octagon 56 in Birmingham. Will Fleury is back against Daniel Skivor. Dennis Frimpong against Callum Mullen. Shamrock goes in there against Stefano Caoilte as well in Birmingham. Excited to see Will back. I know you're going to be, I guess I was released to this, you'll have spoken to Will already. That interview is out. Hasn't that?
If anyone's listening, I'm interviewing him in about half an hour. So if you hear this and it hasn't come out, well, then it didn't happen.
Yeah, we should have probably kept her quiet, but whatever. If you want to hear more about Will and his situation coming into Octagon as well, definitely check out that proposed interview, as we shall. The thoughts on it's good to see Will back. I think it's good to have him back. I think Octagon, as we said, is a good setting for him, and obviously we have Dennis coming in there again against Colin Mullen, Shem. Honorary Irishman now, Shamrock as well, coming in. A lot of Irish interest on that Octagon card.
There's a lot of Irish interest. Look, this is a new chapter in Will Fleury's career. Obviously, he was suspended for testing positive for PEDs in PFL. That was almost a year ago now, I think. So he ended up not going back to PFL, and now he's with Octagon. So this is a new chapter in his career. Look, I'm sure people will feel how they want to feel about it. If some people, people feel how they're going to feel. I would suggest going and watching the interview, which I don't know what he said yet, but hopefully he's addressed it, because I will ask him about it. But look, it's what I've been hearing from a lot of people kind of close to Octagon is they see this as a a real opportunity for Will to go in here and blow the door wide open in this light heavyweight division. They see it as someone relatively close. I won't name them, of course, but I've said that they see it as Will's title for the taking essentially here. So he's going in against the number 5th ranked guy in his maiden voyage under the Octagon banner, and we're going to see how he looks after being not out for that long, but he was obviously sidelined with the ban for 10 months, I think he got. So it's been a little bit since we've seen him, but like he looks like he's been training hard. I see he's out in Vegas training with Strickland and the lads in Extreme Couture there for a bit as well. So a new chapter, and Birmingham has Irish interest in it with the ever present, and you'll hear him before you see him, Dennis Frimpong. I think I saw something on the Octagon website. It's like I can't remember now, something about the biggest trash talker in Octagon MMA or whatever. But going in against Callum Mullen, who's got a good few pro fights, is a decent fighter. So tough test there, and Shamrock, the adopted Irishman under Collie Mann in DCA, in action there as well. So a lot to whet the Irish interest. And
if you didn't get that, and if there hasn't been enough action this weekend, we can go to Sunday again, where we have Levels Fight League. 2 big fights there with Irish interest as well. Andreas Binder returns. Obviously, look at the disappointing run under PFL, missed weight a couple of times. He's back at welterweight. This is his chance for redemption. He can get back on the horse here with a win. He's back at Levels Fight League after picking up a title there previously. Good move for him. Good fight for him against Victor Cuckoo. Like I said, at welterweight, and not too much more to be said. Look, he'll be disappointed, but he has the chance this Sunday to go out there and do what he does best, and that's perform and get a win. And we'll go from there after that with him. Obviously, a tough moment that he's gone through with missing out on that opportunity at PFL, but back to the drawing board. He can rebuild and create those moments for himself. Andy, before I hand it over to you, I'll mention Tiernan Loughran will come out for his professional debut against Ivan. Yeah, I interviewed Tiernan and I actually nailed that name twice. So go over there and check it out.
Your voice went all distorted there as you were saying it, so that kind of helped you. So we'll just say that you.
Yeah, I nailed it that time too. To Suck Hookazoiv. That's shout out to Sean Denny for that announcement. But look, Tiernan, obviously the brother of Caolan Loughran, exciting prospect. Finds himself at Levels Fight League. Will fight at featherweight. And I'm excited to see that. Head over to SevereMMA. I got an interview up with him ahead of that fight. But your thoughts on both of those fights before we wrap up, Andy?
Yeah, I think it's a smart move for both Andreas and also for PFL here, because obviously, we had the mishaps with the missing weight the last 2 fights. So to be able to go out here under a different banner, reset, make the weight, obviously up a weight class now, back to welterweight, but just to get the juice flowing again and just get that confidence in yourself and a bit of momentum, and just to show that you can do it, because we know Andreas is skillful. We know he can. It's just not. Yes, it's just been going wrong the last couple of weight cuts there. So interested to see him back in there, and then of course Tiernan Loughran, a guy who lit up the Irish amateur scene. Who he's a lovely fella. He's a guy who's kind of easy for fans to get behind. Obviously, the younger brother of Caolan Loughran. And he's a serious fighter, so I'm looking forward to seeing him in the pro ranks here. He had an opportunity that never came to fruition not too long ago, so good to see him finally make his pro debut here. I'm buzzing to see it.
Absolutely, and that wraps us up for episode number 55 of the Auld Triangle. Thank you to everybody who's tuning in every week and helping support us. We love what we're doing. We'll continue to do it as well.
We have one more. We forgot.
Go ahead.
Because there's one more lad who deserves a spotlight and who could potentially be a serious contender here. Gerard Burns.
Gerard Burns, yeah. How could I forget? Serious matchup. That is next Saturday as well, April 20th. Gerard Burns is taking on Daniel Spiljaric. That's what I was saying. Brave CF 81 in Slovenia. And I'll remember his last fight very distinctly. I was in the UFC Apex for UFC 296, I think, and I had Gerard Burns fight on, and there was a few media members around me, and I said, come here and watch this fella fight. He's a really good Irish prospect, really good flyweight, and he went in there and absolutely destroyed the last guy, and I'm very excited to see him coming in here against Daniel at Brave CF. Real good chance here with a win that he could march towards a title there, and a solid prospect as well, Andy.
Yeah, and you could even see, in his Brave debut, they were kind of, they're bigging up the hometown guy, and then Jared.
You're not going over there, like I said. You ain't going over to those kind of events with them thinking that you're going to win. You got. That's what makes it a test even more, valid for him the last fight, because he was likely brought over there to compete, not to win. And he went out there and absolutely
shoved it down their throats.
Yeah, it was great to see, and I'm very excited to see him to see if he can do the same this time around.
Yeah, and he's 4-1 now. He's Jared is really pulling together a nice record here, and he's fighting better and better competition each time. So great to see. Definitely tune into him, because he looks a ferocious hand, and I'm looking forward to watching him compete.
100%. Like I said, apologies for missing out on that the last time. We will wrap it up this time around. Like I said,
there's just so
way too many. It's like the Auld Triangle experience again. We've gone long, but whatever. We love talking about Irish mixed martial arts, and isn't it great that we get to talk for 2+ hours every week, which means there's lots going on in the world of Irish mixed martial arts, and we're glad to be here to share our thoughts. Like I said, shout out to Caoilte the Barra. He'll be back with us.
Love it.
For the next episode as well, and there's nothing left, Andy, for you to do only to see us out.
Cúnas Bóthar Colleen Banya agus Slán go fáil.
Good luck.